of announcements, please. In the unlikely event of an emergency and an evacuation, the guests must please exit the building through the two doors behind you, members through the two doors on the side. Marshals will be on hand to assist you. You are welcome to take photographs of the proceedings, but please switch your flash off. Interpreting devices are available for members on the tables. Just plug the device into the side of the microphone and select the relevant channel. For our guests in the public gallery, you are welcome to raise your hand if you would like an interpreting device, and the audiovisual service provider will provide you with one. So please just raise your hand after this if you would like a device. Toilets are in the foyer for the members in the administration building. The Deputy Speaker will also make an announcement at the end of this morning's debate. There is a picnic lunch that will be served behind the hall. All the members please exit through the main entrance, turn left and walk up the side of the hall and around the back. There is also water available during the proceedings today. Please help yourselves from the two tables on either side of the hall. Thank you very much.
Deputy Speaker.
Let us pray. Almighty God, where you have called us to govern this province, we ask your help to make decisions and laws that will be just and will promote the interests of the people. Almagtige God, ons bid dat u gedurende ons vergaderings ons die nodige wysheid sal gee en ons motiewe suiwer sal hou en dat u ons sal help om ons tekortkominge te oorkom en al ons besluite aan u op te dra. Sikelela ilizwe letu nabantu balo, umesile ukulunga kipondu letu. Nkosi sikelele i Afrika, klina abantuano bayo, kokela inkokeli zayo, inike ukolo i Afrika. All this we beg in your holy name. Amen. You may be seated. Order. A very good morning to everyone here at the opening of the Western Cape Provincial Parliament, to welcome all our esteemed guests into this sitting today. Order. Before we proceed, I would like to remind members about some of the logistical arrangements. Today, we will be using the hybrid model for the sitting of the House. So we have honourable members here present in the hall with the presiding officer and the table staff, and we also have honourable members and guests in the sitting of the House via Microsoft Teams. This hall and the chamber have been connected to Microsoft Teams. Honourable members, I trust that everybody has been connected and that the Western Cape Provincial Parliament remains fully operational with members also doing their work in the constituencies, hence why we have a hybrid system. Also, allow me to highlight some of the important housekeeping rules of this sitting. The Secretary and his administration will ensure technical support should anyone require it. Members who are present in this hall and via Microsoft Teams have all the privileges and immunities imparted by the law. Members who are considered to be out of order by the presiding officer will have their microphones muted and will be called to order. Today's sitting shall be governed by the standing rules, and in an instant where the rules cannot be applied, the ruling by the presiding officer is final. I'd also like to remind our guests, you may not participate in this debate. Honourable members in the hall are requested not to sign in onto Microsoft Teams as it does cause interference with the sound. And for the purpose of the sitting via the hybrid model, language interpreting services are also available. And I think all members are aware of how to access language translation via their second device. And finally, honourable members are reminded that no interjections are permitted during the sitting, and to this end, I draw the honourable members' attention to Rule 40 of the Standing Rules. I now recognise the Honourable Chief Whip.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, I move a motion in terms of Section 3 Western Cape Provincial Parliament Code of Conduct Act 2002, Act 3 of 2002, that Advocate P. Burgers be appointed as the Registrar of Members' Interest for a period of 3 years with effect from 1 March 2024. Honourable Deputy Speaker, I so move.
Thank you very much. Are there any objections to the motion? No objections. Agreed to. The presiding officer will now read the first order of the day. The Secretary will first read the first order of the day.
debate on the Premier's State of the Province address.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stemele. I have received a copy of the Premier's State of the Province address delivered in the House on Monday, 19 February 2024. The address is printed in the minutes of the proceedings, and I now place it before the House for debate. I recognise the Honourable Doug Moore.
Thank you.
Order, members.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. We have an election to win, and that's why we've deployed many of our comrades on the ground.
Order.
And don't worry about anything. Speaker, Deputy Speaker, Premier, colleagues and comrades in the legislature, die mense van die Parel en die Drakensberg municipaliteit, Abantu, Basse Chonakoloni. Before we commence this debate, the ANC wishes to acknowledge here today the citizens of Paarl and the Drakensberg municipality. The people of Paarl will tell you that for years they had complained about the broken fence around this very Huguenot hall. Women were sexually assaulted at night because this fence around this hall was broken. Now suddenly the fence and the potholes in the road are fixed before SOPA, and nothing illustrates better the truth of service delivery by the DA. Hulle gee nie om vir ons mense. Vir 10 jaar niks. En nou ewe skielik spring hulle. Soos mense sê oor die DA, bo blink, onder stink. While the majority do not receive service delivery, it is only the wealthy and the elite that get services of a good quality. Our farm workers are evicted, and right now, and that's where Member Maran is, a terrible accident impacting once again on farm workers near the Dorens. And they don't care. Hulle gee nie om nie. The DA, like the Premier did yesterday, lift out 1 or 2 individual cases and spin in the media that they govern better. Siyabona ngokuba i-DA yaqoka. Mense sien nou deur die leuns van die DA. Here in Drakensberg, the DA Mayor, Mr. Poole, faces a motion of no confidence amid serious prima facie allegations of jobs for pals. But where did he learn this? He learned this from his masters, Anton Bradell, Tertius Simmers, and now Sharma Fernandez, who's trying to vickle someone into her department, which she knows should not be allowed.
Honourable members, you can take your seat, please. There is a point of order. Deputy Chief Whip, what's your point of order?
Deputy Speaker, I rise in terms of Rule 59. The member is reflecting upon the integrity of ministers that are sitting in front of the House and has mentioned them by name. I wish for you to rule upon that.
Thank you very much. I'm going to, for the ease of this debate, be reasonable, flexible. I'm going to say to you, Honourable Member Dagmar, I'll listen carefully if it is really aspersions that you are casting on each and every member. But I am going to try and be as flexible as possible within the ambit of the rules. Please, Honourable Doug Moore, please go ahead with caution.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. When ANC councillors like Moti Richards try to speak about the corruption hier binne in Drakensberg, they attempted to charge him. And it is the same Drakensberg municipality that is standing in the way of transferring die grond van Saron, die grond van Saron na die Communal Property Association, despite the Minister of Land Affairs saying in writing that the land should be transferred. Hulle staan in die weg. In our speeches, Deputy Speaker, we will be asking specific questions which we request the Premier to respond truthfully when he replies. People are now seeing that the DA's swart-gevaar trick of trying to instill fear about black African people amongst colored people. At the same time, the DA is pushing white South Africans into a lager. As the ANC, we say that any person without a place in school, whether they are African, colored or white, needs our help. A person who is without a house, whether they are colored, African or white, need our help. Ons is almal mense. We are all human beings with similar hopes and dreams. Masmanyane, Apo en Chono Koloni, kom ons staan saam. ANC unites, DA divides. As the ANC, we want to call on those in the white community who still fear for the future. It's time to realize that you are South African. You are African. A future is only sustainable if genuine efforts are made to redress the injustices of the past and to work together to build our future. Don't stand on the sidelines. Get into the scrum and help build a better life for everyone. The starting point is to come to terms with the fact that the vast majority of white South Africans were massively advantaged by apartheid and colonialism and affirmative action in the apartheid years. Thus, white South Africans need to accept the incontrovertible fact that there is still a need for redress. It may be tempting to fall for the populist and racist rhetoric of the Freedom Front Plus and the fear-mongering of the DA, but it will not take you anywhere. Bruin mense in ons provinsie is 48% van die bevolking. Swart mense is 38%. Blanke gemeenskap is 18%. Nou, hoe kan dit ooit geregverdig wees dat bruin mense net 10% van stedelike grond besit en swart mense 'n skamele 3%? Ons moenie toelaat dat die DA ons verdeel van ons swart broers en susters nie en van ons bruin broers en susters en ons blanke broers en susters. Die DA, ons weet van hulle, maar ons as die ANC beywer om ons nog steeds om ons land te verenig. Bruin, swart, Indiër, blanke, Christen, Muslim, Jood, Xhosa moedertaal, Afrikaans moedertaal, Engels sprekendes. En soos die Vryheidsmanifest sê, South Africa belongs to all who live in it. And that is why, when this premier spoke, hy het nie 'n enkele woord gesê oor die Khoi of die San. While Helen Zille was a premier and all other provinces set up houses for traditional leaders, Zille and the DA refused. Then when the traditional Khoisan bill went to parliament, die DA wat hier sit, het teen daai wetsontwerp in die parlement gestem. En hulle noem nie eers van die Khoi en die San van ons provinsie. En ek het 'n ou gekry gister wat sê, nee, ek het vandag die waarheid gesien. Draai premier, stel nie belang in ons nie. That's what he told me afterwards. So, we need to participate actively in the national process now and assist people in terms of the national process. But let it never be forgotten who delayed this process. The people of the Western Cape stand united in condemning the genocide of thousands of Palestinians and the Israelis' absolute disregard for international law and the rule of law. We condemn this provincial government and legislators' duplicity in regard to the genocide of Palestinians. When the Premier spoke yesterday, he couldn't even get himself to mention the word Palestine. He condemned Russia and is silent in the face of Israel. Despite exports from our province to Russia exceeding exports to Ukraine, this provincial government put out a statement condemning Russia. Maar wat sê hulle op Palestine? Niks. The crocodile tears of this premier yesterday must just be rejected. The double standards and die skynheiligheid van die DA is daar. The racism and support of apartheid by the DA are typical and must be condemned. There was even an official, 'n amptenaar in die wetgewer, wat 'n koevee aangehet het by die werk. En een van die ministers wat hier sit, het haar probeer intimideer and say, you can't use that. And we know who he is. When we look at this issue of Gaza, it's a human rights issue. It's not a religious issue. That is why Christians, Muslims, and thousands of South African Jews support our government in laying a charge of genocide against Israel at the ICJ. But all the DA members in the National Parliament, all of them, voted against our government going to the ICJ. When we look at the economy, it's clear that the Premier back in 2018 admitted that only 3% of agricultural land in the Western Cape was in black hands, coloured, African and Indian. 6 years later, 5 years of windy rule, the situation remains bleak. En ek moet sê, die premier het net bladsy 4 vandag van die burger behaal. Hulle stel nie eintlik belang in hom. Net bladsy 4. Ja nee, ek lees hom en ek gesels saam. But the issue really in our economy is that we have asset poverty and inequality. On the other hand, I've spoken about white South Africans owning 90% of agricultural land in this province. If we talk about economic empowerment, it starts with land and property. When it comes to employment and unemployment, unemployment in this province has always been the lowest in the country because of a number of comparative advantages. When the ANC governed this province, werkloosheid was 18%. Nou onder die DA in 24 is werkloosheid 20.2%. In 2019, he said the Premier wants to support informal and township economy. 5 years later, the only township economy project in partnership with Pick n Pay is in tatters. Complete disaster, no plan to revitalize the informal township economies. It's just spin, mirrors, no substance. Then he announced Municipal Resilience Energy Project. Actually, nothing has been forthcoming from that 3 to 4 years ago. He said he's going to get COVID-19 vaccines. Net weer 'n klomp leë beloftes. He said he's going to work with the taxi industry to introduce red dot, and then he stopped the red dot. That's what he did. And now they're coming with transport subsidies, which they're going to stop again. So the reality is, women are not safe working in the Western Cape government. The Premier of this provincial government stands up here and he knows that a chief director of this province, Farrell Payne, is charged with sexual assault and committing a sexual act in a criminal court, and he remains a chief director. So how can you even believe to begin? And the number of women who are suffering from harassment at the workplace, he knows about. This Premier lost an MEC who lied about his qualifications, another for abusing his office and victimizing women, another who had to run off to London because she was just failing education completely. He even had to separate public works. But we must, when the Premier talks about the economy, he doesn't mention that many of the growth opportunities here come from national government. AGOA is national. The IDZ, the SEZ, investments from the Presidential Investment Summit, including the Lotus factory in Wolseley, which is employing 750 people. Their refusal to address inequalities is best seen in the Tafelberg matter. And this morning again, the Premier misled people on Cape Talk, and I'll explain why. This asset, a former special needs school, is situated on the main road in Sea Point. It's ideal for social housing. 12 years have lapsed and still Tafelberg stands empty. This is the legacy of the DA, Zille and Alan Winde. The courts had to be approached by Difuno Kwazi and the National Minister of Human Settlements to stop that sale. The DA lost the court case and the sale was stopped. But actually, nothing is still happening. And these are 3 of the questions, Premier, I'd like you to answer. Given that the site has been empty for 14 years, 7 years in court fighting for affordable housing, and although there have been 9 existing feasibility studies, why is there still no urgency to develop the site for social housing? Given that the province has again said that on the 11th of March this year, people must make submissions for a further 2-year process, and you didn't even know that, Premier, when you spoke. You just said, oh no, there are delays. Your government is delaying this. Your government is delaying this. You already have 7 plans which you've paid for, and now you want to delay this for 2 years again. So you please answer that. The province has included in this document reactivation of a school facility as an urban public school as part of the new so-called development elements. What exactly, Premier, is the province's intention for the Tafelberg site? When Zille broke her promise, domestic workers and others occupied the Helen Bowden Nurses Home. And I want to ask, thirdly, when will this provincial government provide electricity to this provincially owned building, allowing residents to live in dignity? And when will you stop the millions and millions that get spent every month? When will you treat the residents of Ahmed Katrada House with dignity and actually sit down, start a meaningful dialogue to find fair and lasting solutions? You've never done that, and that is a total lack of leadership. When it comes to energy, the Premier mentioned literally hundreds of millions invested in so-called energy resilience. The Mayor of Cape Town announced a project to bring over 600 megawatt. Now, despite us asking repeatedly, what is the koste? What is this electricity going to cost the consumer? Neither this Premier or the Mayor has been able to tell us. In Hessequa, where Premier Windy praises the Mayor Grant Riddles, who in fact is under criminal investigation by the Hawks for openly calling on residents of Melkfontein to lie about their incomes. We've got him on tape when applying for housing subsidies. Here again, the Mayor cannot tell us, or you, Mr. Premier, how much will the Hessequa electricity cost? There's a feit soos 'n koei. There's a feit soos 'n koei dat krag wat gekoop word direk van Eskom is goedkoper as krag van die stad Kaapstad. When you buy electricity for 100 Rand from Eskom in Cape Town, you get 42 units. When you buy electricity for 100 Rand from the DA City, you get 22 units. Why is that? Because over and above the NERSA surcharge, they've added another surcharge. NERSA has taken to the court. Who suffers? The poor. Here in Drakensberg, when you go and buy electricity from the municipality and you're in arrears with another account, they take from that 100 Rand and you end up with a 10 Rand or a 20 Rand for electricity. What do you say about that, Mr. Poole? That being said, we as the ANC are taking responsibility for this energy crisis and we are making progress. This in terms of an energy mix of coal, renewables, hydro, nuclear and gas. The lack of reliable energy supply hits consumers and businesses hard, and we must acknowledge that. But we will have a just transition to a lower carbon economy. Human settlements is in a crisis in this province. This MEC wants to disband the entire project management unit in the provincial settlements, human settlements. But the Premier came here and misled the House again about education, because standards and education have dropped in this province under this Premier in an unprecedented manner. Instead of ensuring that more poor children are educated and given the skills to fight poverty, poorer children are coming off second best. Honourable Bunce will speak more about this, the dismal state. But the fact is that the Premier must acknowledge that the Western Cape scored the lowest of bachelor passes in the country from no-fee schools. When the ANC governed, our matrics were number 1. And were 14% above the national pass rate. Now, in 2023, for the first time ever, the Western Cape has slipped below the national average. That is factual. And then, Premier, you want to come here and claim, like in the DA manifesto, that this is the best run province? Vir wie lieg jy? Vir wie lieg jy? People are seeing through the DA lies. When it comes to governance, the Premier has allowed his MEC for local government to cover up, firstly, DA corruption, fraud, cadre deployment and capture. He has allowed this MEC to penalize non-DA run municipalities and actually destabilize them. This MEC has covered up for Tertius Simmers. This MEC has covered up for massive underspending by DA municipalities across the province and literally. And yes, we as the ANC want to investigate as a standing committee the situation in Neisner. We want to investigate that, and we will.
Sorry, I have to interrupt you. If you can just take your seat, please. There's a point of order. Honourable Deputy Chief Whip, what's your point of order?
Chair, we've already raised this in terms of Rule 59. The member is continuing to name persons, members of this House, and imputing upon the integrity in terms of Rule 59. It cannot be continued in this fashion. If the member wants to bring a matter, then they must bring a substantive motion.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chief Whip. That's correct. If there is any aspersions or any accusations cast on any member, you may bring a substantive motion. However, constructive criticism is allowed, but casting aspersions and direct accusations without any substantive motion is not. You may proceed, Honourable Dugmore, please, with caution.
Ja, die waarheid maak seer. Al twee van die MEC's gaan praat. Hulle moet hulle self probeer defend hierso. As the ANC, we have evidence of DA corruption, nepotism and fraud in each and every one of the 21 municipalities that they govern. including Drakenstein. We have proof of capital budgets that are spent mostly in the privileged areas. Time today does not allow me to deal with each municipality, but rest assured the truth is going to come out about each and every municipality and die bandjies vir boeties en baie meer van die DA. But let's take a few. For weeks, the people of Vredendal North in Matsikama, poor people, went without water, while the town had water for some people. The people of Kalbaskraal in Swartland has not seen houses built in their community for years. A DA councillor in Matsikama lied about her father's death. Ja, sy het leuns vertel.
Honourable Dugmore, please proceed with caution when you make strong language such as lied. It will then infringe on Rule 59.
But I'm not mentioning this DA councillor's name, but it's true. Lied about the death of her father to make sure that she got benefits from housing. We will mention these names. Dit kom uit. Die dossier is reg vir julle. Die dossier kom uit. Saldanha Bay Mayor was accused of falsifying his qualifications. No action from the Premier. And one of his own members has been implicated for the capture of Voortrekker land here in Stellenbosch. Silence. And we know that the municipality of Stellenbosch, the mayor of Stellenbosch, continues to unlawfully try and assist the biggest DA funder, Mr. Michiel Leroux, to change land zoning in Stellenbosch to benefit him. That's the reality. Look at the books who funds the DA.
Honourable Dugmore, that's quite an accusation. I would really ask you to proceed. Unless we can bring substantial, it doesn't matter, but I think it's very, very important when we say lied, stolen, helped, coerced, I would really ask that you proceed with caution as honourable members before you make statements in the House that are of public, in the public space. Honourable Kama, I recognise your hand. What is your point of order?
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. I was really hopeful you were treating us very well when we started the session. But what I don't understand, Deputy Speaker, is that there is no one here where Member Dugmore is casting aspersions against. Did not mention any name. Are you now wanting to dictate what must be in the speech in terms of the content?
No.
Because it's speaking about corruption that is happening in the DA, and Premier yesterday here decided to speak about things that are happening in the national space, and no one called order into that. But now, how do you want to tell us what we must debate when we're exposing and exercising our responsibility of oversight and expose the corruption that is happening in the DA and in all its municipalities, including the executive here in the province?
Yeah. Honourable Kama, your point is noted. Again, I just ask with caution, when we say the mayor of Stellenbosch, you don't have to say the name, you've just put the label. When we say the mayor in general, that is accepted. But I'm asking that we don't cause a furore here with accusations that are actually criminal. Really, they're criminal in nature of what Honourable Dugmore has just mentioned. So, Honourable Dugmore, you may proceed. But I would really just ask that we don't mention names. Honourable Chief Whip of the Opposition, what's your point of order?
Deputy Speaker,
Please put your microphone on.
Deputy Speaker, I would want to assume
I can't
that
hear you.
it's on.
Okay.
I'm sure you would recognize and realize that Honorable Dugmore is protected in terms of powers and privileges of what he says inside the House. And therefore, I find it strange that you would want to caution him when he is in actual fact protected. So I want you, Deputy Speaker, to draw a clear distinction between the two.
Thank you. Your point is noted. Honourable Dugmore may proceed.
Me about how many minutes I've had, because there's been a lot of interruptions.
It's 50 seconds. It's literally just under a minute.
No. I've been that watch there is now getting on to 10 o'clock. I started 20 minutes before. There's been at least 5 minutes of interruption.
No. My table staff are very diligent at the time. They've got the timer right here, Honourable Dugmore.
Deputy Speaker, I will share all the other issues of municipalities. But I also want to say that what's rich coming from the Deputy Speaker herself. She's charged before the Appeals Committee, and the chairperson of this committee is trying to delay, where she's been found guilty already. She's trying to delay until after the elections. That is the contradictions. They get rid of Nkasela,
Honourable Dugmore,
and
there's
now
a point of
she is
order.
still
You
there
may be
as the
seated.
Deputy Speaker, having been found guilty,
Honourable
and they
Dugmore.
are delaying the hearings. That's the truth. You don't like the truth, but it's the truth.
Thank you, Honourable
It
Dugmore.
is.
Your time is up. Honourable Bartman, what's your point of order?
Deputy Speaker.
Order, members.
Deputy Speaker, I rise in terms of Rules 45 as well as in terms of Rule 62. The member is not only reflecting upon a holder of this office as Deputy Speaker, the Appeal Committee is governed by a Code of Conduct Act. And in terms of Rule 45, if he's going to continue reflecting on members of the House, I request that in terms of Rule 45 that he must withdraw those opinions.
Quite correct. The rule of 45 is quite clear, Honourable Dugmore. You are
I'm
a
not
very
in
esteemed
any way
member
reflecting
of
on the
this.
appeal process. I'm reflecting what's
Honourable
public knowledge
Dugmore,
in the tablings
Honourable
in this
Dugmore,
House.
I'm speaking and your time is up. You may be seated. Thank you very much. I have reflected on Rule 45. I now call on Honourable Fry. Order, members. Order. Order. You may proceed, Honourable Fry.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, my father is a giant amongst men, and we were privileged to have him here last night at the SOPA address. He taught me a great many lessons. Being an Anglican priest, many of these lessons were steeped in scripture and spirituality. One such lesson is based on what the Lord requires of us in the book of Micah, chapter 6, verse 8, which reads, to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. In essence, Speaker, the lesson is simple in concept, but difficult in execution. We are required to do what is right. The question, though, is what is the right thing to do? I would venture to say that the right thing for this government, and any government for that matter, the right thing to do is to serve its citizens and to serve them well. Yesterday, the Premier made reference to the fact that this address was the last of its kind in its term. In doing so, he invited us to take stock of the last 5 years. The question we must ask ourselves is this: how did this government serve the people of the Western Cape? Did it do what is right? Soon after Premier Windey took office, our country was beset by the COVID-19 pandemic. This was a hurdle that no one could have predicted, and a massive obstacle for what was then a young and untested government. But this government's response was to build the largest field hospital in the African continent in record time. They ensured that medicine could be delivered directly to the homes of those for whom it was unsafe to go out, an innovation which proved to be a lifesaver for many. Deputy Speaker, it goes without saying that this response was put that of other provinces to shame. What the pandemic demonstrated was that this government sought ways to take the initiative and go above and beyond. When I listened to yesterday's SOPA, I was struck by all the ways in which the Premier and this government have continued to do so. Honourable Deputy Speaker, yesterday we heard that this government has created 240,000 jobs in this term, or approximately 64% of all jobs created in the country in the same period. I will leave it there, as I'm sure that Minister Wenger will expound on this during her speech. But I'd like for all of us and the public viewing this debate to fully consider the implications of these figures. The opposition often claims to fight for equality, but where they govern, they fail to help people. They fail to create jobs. They fail to do what is right. In fact, Deputy Speaker, they do the opposite. Perhaps the biggest obstacle to job creation is one created by the ANC's national government. Deputy Speaker, as the Premier pointed out, the numbers related to the energy crisis are harrowing. Over 300 days of load shedding, in 2023, with a cost of upwards of 62 billion rand. Nearly 900 million rand per day is lost due to the rolling blackouts. Hundreds of thousands of jobs lost. And they do not seem to care. Recently, the ANC deputy chairperson of the NCOP said that load shedding is not the end of the world. I would ask her to go tell that to the people who have lost jobs, who've lost businesses, who've lost homes because the lack of adequate supply of electricity that her party is responsible for. In the recent State of the Nation address, the president stated that load shedding would soon be a thing of the past. Well, if stage 6 heralds the beginning of the end of this catastrophe, then he would have been right. Alas, this is not the case. As the energy availability factor, the core metric in measuring energy supply, now sits at its lowest level ever in a year-by-year comparison at just 50.84%. And we have yet to reach the cold months of winter. What is abundantly clear is that this national government cannot be trusted to fix this problem. They cannot be trusted to do what is right. But contrast this with the Western Cape government's response to this disaster. Amongst other initiatives, nearly 40,000 energy packs distributed, a pilot project that will take an entire town off the grid, and 89 million rand in emergency funding given to municipalities for the procurement of generators to keep water treatment and wastewater plants functioning. Couple that with the 2,000 megawatts that are in the pipeline, and you can see the vast difference of a provincial government that works and a national government that is failing its citizens. And as Admiral Dogma was mentioned about the city of Cape Town and the price issue that he brought up, I won't say much because I will leave it to the Premier, but I will say this. The issue remains the Eskom tariff hike of 18.5% for the city of Cape Town. It costs the city 18.5% more to buy bulk power from Eskom to distribute to the city's customers. The city spends about 70% of its tariff income to buy electricity from Eskom, with the remaining 30% covering the costs of a reliable electricity service and plans to end load shedding. Honourable Deputy Speaker, as we take stock of yesterday's SOPA and the performance of this government over the last 5 years, there is perhaps one major flaw I can identify in terms of performance. One for which it can be forgiven, and you could safely say for which it had no option. And one which has been forced into it, but a flaw nonetheless. This government has let the ANC get away with failing us, but not for long. That is why I was overjoyed to hear the Premier's words yesterday. He spoke of continuing to go above and beyond for the people of this province, seeking new ways to serve and new powers to serve with. The ANC has fought the Western Cape Provincial Powers Bill tooth and nail. They claim that the bill is racist, that it seeks to separate a separate state, but as anyone who has read the bill, and as we know, leaders are readers, will realize that these claims are false. I take also humble homage to the fact that I was called in the public hearings the new Hendrik Verwoerd. Leaders are readers.
Order.
Read the bill. The truth is that the ANC fears this government doing more because this government will then expose their failures in governance to an even greater extent. The truth is, Madam Deputy Speaker, that they fear doing what is right. This bill seeks to create a new blueprint for governance in South Africa, one which policing, energy, transport, trade, and the port are devolved to a capable subnational government. And after the Premier's address yesterday, there can be absolutely no doubt that this government is capable, that this government can, and that this government do what is right. To conclude, Deputy Speaker, I will say this. There are challenges ahead of us.
Honourable Fry, can you just take a seat for a second? Honourable Van Vogel? It's running commentary. Interjections are allowed, but I have been watching its running commentary. Please allow the Honourable Fry to actually finish his speech. Thank you very much. Honourable Fry, you may proceed.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. To conclude, Deputy Speaker, I will say this. There are challenges ahead of us, and we have yet to achieve perfect governance in this province or in this country. But now, more than ever, we need a government that will do what is right. I have supreme confidence in this government and this party, and I believe that in a few months, the people of this country and this province will demonstrate that same confidence in the ballot box.
Thank you very much. I now recognize the Honourable Minister Wenger.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. For anyone paying attention and actually looking at the facts, it's clear that the Western Cape is a province that works and is at work. Here we believe that success is not about waiting for the right opportunity, but about creating it through determined action. This powerful quote from an unknown author describes perfectly the very heart of the Western Cape government's drive to improve the lives of residents, especially the poorest of the poor. Every day,
1 minute,
every
Minister,
month, and every year.
My apologies for the interruption. I see the Chief Whip is on standing.
Deputy Speaker, I do apologize for interrupting, but I do want to raise Rule 40. You have spoken to the running commentary. We had to listen to the Honourable Dugmore for 20 minutes saying absolutely nothing. I think we should have the liberty of listening to the speakers. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you very much, Chief Whip. Honourable Lacker, I see you standing before I've recognised you, but what's your... Honourable members? Okay, Honourable Lacker, please take your seat until we have some order. Honourable Nkondlo, Honourable Lacker is standing. Honourable Nkondlo, Honourable Lacker is standing on a point of order. Honourable Lacker, what's your point of order?
Raise a point of order on the Chief Whip of the Democratic Alliance. She just uttered a statement of which she was casting aspersion on the statement that was made by Honourable Dugmore by saying Honourable Dugmore was actually saying nothing. Can you rule on that one?
Okay, again, the ruling of 59 applies to everybody, and as I say, on both sides of the House, Honourable Baku Force, I'm speaking. On both sides of the House, please, honourable members, we have guests witnessing this debate here today. I ask that everybody just take a breather before you start casting aspersions on anyone. All right? Remember, constructive criticism is absolutely allowed. We are not saying that people are liars and thieves here. So please, I'm going to let it go. Can I now ask that the Minister be heard for her time at the podium? Thank you.
We are hard at work to grow
Force.
jobs for all.
Sorry. You may proceed, Minister.
We are hard at work to grow jobs for all because we know that if we take steps forward to creating a future full of hope, opportunity, we can create a province where our people have what they need to succeed. Because when our people succeed, so will this province and so will South Africa. The Western Cape is a place where more people have jobs. The Western Cape has the lowest unemployment rate in South Africa at 20.2%. And those that don't yet have a job have not given up on finding one because they know that here, more than anywhere else in South Africa, you have the best chance of finding a job. The Western Cape enabled the creation of 240,000 of the 370,000 net jobs created in the whole of South Africa between the third quarter of 2019 and the third quarter of 2023. Almost 2/3 of all net new jobs created in South Africa were right here in the Western Cape. Just think about it. One province at the tip of the continent, representing 12% of the population, created 240,000 net new jobs, while the other 8 combined created 130,000 net new jobs. But what is the difference between this beacon of hope and the rest? The difference is good policy and expert implementation versus bad policy and little implementation. The difference, Madam Speaker, is the DA. It is the DA difference that enables job creation, the DA difference that gives hope, and the DA difference that can deliver a better future for all. These achievements have not happened by chance or luck or by wishing. These jobs which help residents succeed is the result of determined action. Despite severe binding constraints, mainly due to the national government failures, which has led to crumbling national infrastructure, crippling load shedding and job-killing logistics crisis, the Western Cape shows, in spite of this, what is possible. We have the lowest unemployment rate in the country, the lowest expanded unemployment rate, the highest absorption rate, and the highest labour force participation rate in the country. And this is the result of determined action, meticulous planning, and data-led and evidence-based policy making, and proof of what we can achieve when we work with our private sector partners. Just imagine how many more jobs we could create if we were not constrained by the ANC national government and its destructive policies. And this is why the Powers Bill is so important, because it allows for a differentiated approach and means that different regions in South Africa can realize their full potential without Pretoria Luthuli House imposing its bad decisions on everyone, and especially for the poor who continue to bear the brunt of ANC inaction and corruption. The Hausman Harvard Growth Lab report recently found, in its report titled Growth Through Inclusion, that the root of South Africa's problems is collapsing state capacity and spatial exclusion. They found that the ANC ideology excludes society from participating in state-reserved activities, and that political patronage has corrupted the state and the ANC. An indictment. While here at in the Western Cape, we've seen a fantastic recovery of the tourism sector, which has now surpassed pre-pandemic levels, with Cape Town International Airport processing the most number of passengers ever, with a record-breaking 317,000 passengers in December. The Western Cape is indeed a destination in demand. We've also seen impressive performance in our employment levels, which I've already spoken about. At the same time, we continue to deliver on good governance, with 100% of all Western Cape government departments and entities achieving unqualified audit opinions from the Auditor General. We continue to push forward so that we can enable breakout economic growth and a R1 trillion jobs-rich, inclusive, sustainable, diverse and thriving Western Cape economy that's growing at between 4 and 6% in real terms by 2035. And we must break out of the sluggish growth rates, because if we can do this, our strategy has the potential to create 600,000 new jobs and a much higher growth rate that can actually put a massive dent in the unemployment rate and lift hundreds of thousands of people out of poverty. And we do this through meticulous planning, because we know that with a job comes dignity, hope, and the promise of a better future for every person in this province, most especially the poor and the vulnerable. We continue to work with the private sector to upskill and place unemployed residents in meaningful work, especially our young people. In the 8 months from the beginning of April to the end of November last year, through our skills programs in partnership with the private sector, 2,772 jobs for previously unemployed youth in the province were placed in strategic and targeted growth sectors, including tourism, clothing and textiles, and BPO sectors. In the tourism sector, 154,400 jobs were created between 2021 and 2022, bringing the total number of jobs supported by the tourism sector to an impressive 215,000 jobs. And in just 3 sectors, we've seen the creation of nearly 160,000 jobs since 2021. Again, this has not happened by chance. It's the result of hard work, strategic support, and critical partnerships across government and the private sector to enable job creation. Just some examples. Skills training and placement in the clothing and textile sector has created 402 jobs for previously unemployed youth. Partnership with AXA to train and place 124 previously unemployed youth at the airport to assist passengers during peak times, and working with the thriving BPO sector to upskill and place 2,200 previously unemployed youth in full-time work opportunities in the sector. We also know that our SMMEs are the engines of job creation, and so we have a targeted action plan to support and grow SMMEs. Our Booster Fund has assisted 860 SMMEs since it began, sustaining nearly 5,000 jobs. And Honourable Dugmore was a bit economical with the truth when he spoke about the township programs, because our booster program has a specific township booster leg for SMMEs in townships. We also develop trading hubs in townships, Kwanakutula in Hesekwa, Bongoletu in Oudtshoorn, Barneyvale, Montague, Mossel Bay, Smutsville in Barrydale, Lanesburg, Lesedi Square in Cape Agulhas, Ceres, Kwanakutula in Mossel Bay, Delmeda also in Mossel Bay. And at the same time, we've made allocations for solar panels for these trading hubs so that they can continue, these small businesses can continue to operate despite the severe load shedding. And there again, Honourable Dugmore was a bit economical with the truth, where he said that they were making progress on energy. We've just seen the energy availability factor for Eskom is less this year than what it was last year. How's that for progress? That's no progress, that's nothing. Our export competitiveness enhancement program also works with export-ready businesses to access international trade. And with 55% of South Africa's primary agricultural exports and the clear demand for these proudly Western Cape products, this program is hard at work to help exporters expand to new markets and create many more jobs right here at home. Our new Digital Enablement Fund is designed to help businesses to transform digitally so that they can reduce costs and increase productivity, expand, and ultimately grow and enable job creation. Deputy Speaker, we're doing all we can to attract even more domestic and international investment to our province, because with investment comes jobs. We have an established record of good, clean, corruption-free governance and effective service delivery that prioritizes the poor, plus our policy stability, strong political leadership, and this all sends a clear message to investors that the Western Cape works and the Western Cape is open for business. We have a dedicated investment one-stop shop to help streamline the investment value chain, making it easier to do business here. Honourable Dugmore spoke about how the national government has enabled SEZs, but right here we have the Atlantis Special Economic Zone, but the ANC national government has refused to give it any tax incentives, absolutely refused. So how can we have a special economic zone with no tax incentives?
Finish off, Minister.
Okay. That time. Oh my gosh. Okay, in conclusion, It was Pablo Picasso who said, action is the foundational key to all success. With this, we could not agree more. Because in the Western Cape, every day we act with purpose, because we owe it to the people who call this province home. We do it because it is our responsibility to work for jobs and do everything in our power to make sure that tomorrow is better than today. Thank you.
Thank you. I now recognise the Honourable Class. Order.
I have just going to greet our Commissar, Dr. Suzanne, that is here. I appreciate his coming from far to come and check what is happening in the Western Cape. In the Western Cape, what we as a speaker, the Premier's speech was not only empty and shallow, it was also full of promises which his government does not have capacity to fulfill, just like so-called safety plan. As the things stand, the community safety and the police oversight is a dismal failure in addressing the increasing violence and the petty crimes in the province. The DA in the Western Cape has managed to ensure that the more privileged areas have enough police resources and supplement those resources with their only programs. But it fails to make a dent in the lack of resources and visible to the proper communities. The MEC is clearly either out of the depth or compromise when addressing issues of the community. I can make an example. You must go to Zolani. There is a pigsty police station there. Thank you. Employment opportunity and resources. Speaker, the provincial government must be driving force when it comes to creating employment opportunities and stop telling us about the responsibility of private sector. We further call for the insourcing of security guards. If you said you implement jobs, why you don't make in your municipalities and insource the securities? Why you don't insource the cleaners? Why you don't insource the general workers? If you talk about jobs, you don't do that, but you come and say you create jobs here. Housing, Speaker, Tafelberg site has been empty for 14 years. There has been at least 9 feasible studies providing how social housing could be developed on the site, include one from the provincial government itself on the 2013. Even the Provincial Department of Human Settlement asked to use the site of building affording. However, instead of using site to tackle special apartheid between 2016 and 2018 alone, the province wasted 5,431 million in public money fighting for Tafelberg case in the courts. This then begs a question: when will the Premier and the Department of Infrastructure stop wasting time and public money fighting his courts and actual release of the affordable houses? Speaker, on the 3rd of October 2023, the Department of Transport and the Public Workers announced that it has completed the construction of 73 million facility at number 3 Respect Street, Maitland, to centralize all government motor transport, operating including from the government garage and top yard and Ruland Street. But instead, people, they don't have even the parking areas. They parking, even they don't have an affordable houses. Healthcare sector, Speaker or Deputy Speaker, we also call the province to ensure that clinics and day hospitals start operating for 24/7 to prove a real service to the people, 24/7. This shows out of touch government. It shows people of Western Cape and their needs. Furthermore, I'm closing. We are happy that this will DA and Premier wins farewell address as the voters of the Western Cape prepare to usher a new era with the government whose lived experience and no different from other majority of the poor working class people. I'm just closing saying that we must work truly to the people. We must not just make movies here and lie and tell
Honourable
stories.
Member,
And
your
saying
time is
that
up.
things are happening when not happening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I now recognise the Honourable Chief Whip, Honourable Kaiser Philander.
Agbare Speaker, vandag wil ek praat oor die realiteit waarin ons gemeenskappe hulle bevind. Ek wil praat oor die tekortkominge wat ons nasionaal beleef en die nodige bydrae wat ons provinsiale regering wel maak tot die waardigheid en welstand van ons gemeenskappe. Ek wil praat oor die missie om Suid-Afrika te red. Speaker, vandag staan ek hier as 'n vrou, geslyp deur nederige omstandighede, afkomstig van 'n familie wat swaar kry ken, bekend met hierdie strate van my tuisdorp. Ek is daai dogter wie vandag nie haar ouers het nie en op susters wat vandag teenwoordig is in die gehoor, moes staat maak en uitgebreide familie, grootgemaak met liefde en waardes. En ek staan as 'n vrou wie min 'n kans gegee het, maar my omstandighede het my gered. Ek staan as 'n eggenoot met 'n ondersteuningsnetwerk soos min, met my man ook vandag in die gehoor en 2 dogters wat verstaan. Hulle ma weet waarvan sy praat as sy sê die lewe skuld jou niks. Leer klaar, gee jou beste, bou verhoudinge, omring jouself met goeie mense. Ek sê dit adjunk Speaker, want familie is die cornerstone en die ANC verwoes ons gemeenskappe. Young Speaker, in the audience today, we have organizations represented from the many in Drakenstein that can see and that can feel the impact of the national government's failure, and they are stepping up. Allow me the opportunity to thank them for their unwavering love, their commitment and their support to see to the needs of the most vulnerable on a daily basis. Honourable Deputy Speaker, also present Edgar J. Peterson, a citizen who took it upon himself and saw the need, the realities that we have to see, the lived realities, and one can only imagine how that must impact on him. Thank you for breaking the news. What you show us is what we need to see. Honourable Deputy Speaker, I want to acknowledge, but to name a few, we have remarkable people in this town and across this province. Organizations like Paul Doenit, Fountain of Hope, Magda Soup Kitchen, Raylene Kibadu, Tanya in Lovers Lane, Breaking Barriers, and as I say, many, many more. Thank you to each of you for your contributions in restoring and rebuilding the social fiber in our society. Government cannot do it alone, and we must be cognizant of who is prepared to walk a mile in each other's shoes, dedicated to the cause and without fear or favor. Deputy Speaker, with the introduction of the social relief of distress grant, the 350s, more than 10 million people in South Africa applied. In September last year, a so-called system glitch on the Postbank software affected thousands of social grant recipients who spent days waiting for their social grants. A similar problem occurred in January of this year. Not only is the SRD grant inadequate and below the food poverty line, the ANC can't even figure out how to pay these grants. And now the residents of the Western Cape and Drakenstein have to listen very carefully. My colleagues in the National Assembly revealed that the ANC will not be able to pay grants to those who rely on them in the 2024-2025 financial year. In the 2023 budget review, indications were of the abolishment of the SRD grant from the 1st of March, and you can be assured that cuts to other grants will follow as the fiscal crisis with compliments of the ANC corruptions continue to worsen. You tell us what will happen to the 18 million South Africans that rely on those social grants to sustain themselves and their families. What we need is a country with moral politicians. Unlike the Deputy Chair of the National Council of Provinces, Sylvia Lucas, who during the SONA debate said that load shedding is not the end of the world. This is the same person, honourable members and members of the public, who consumed, and I hope not by herself,
Order, members.
50,000 rands worth of Kentucky Fried Chicken in 10 weeks.
Honourable Member Philander, if you could just take your seat. There's a point of order. My apologies for the interruption.
Honourable
Deputy Chief Whip of the Opposition. Honourable Member.
Thank you very much, Honourable Deputy Speaker, and I thank you, I think, for the relative calmness that we've had this morning under your chairwomanship. Deputy Speaker, just on a point of order, the Honourable Chief Whip of the Opposition is contradicting the caution and advice given by the Honourable Deputy Chief Whip of the Democratic Alliance, in that she's casting aspersions on the Deputy Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces. Can you please caution her in that regard? Thank you.
So before the honourable member continues with her speech, I think one is she is quoting what has been said, but she may not cast aspersions on her character. I'm going to let it ride, Honourable Deputy Chief Whip, again with caution, but she is merely repeating what was said in the National Assembly. She may proceed. Over to you, Honourable Member.
Thank you very much, Honourable Deputy Speaker. There is also the former Minister, Batabile Dlamini, who said people should stop complaining about load shedding. You must go to bed early. If it wasn't so sad, it would have been hilarious. Honourable members and members of the public, where is the realization that load shedding affects children that have to study, businesses that have to operate for people to be employed and earn a living, and those on life-saving support in our hospitals? The ANC's disconnected and uncaring attitude stands in the way of us becoming a community of dignity and well-being. That's why we need to get rid of them. Deputy Speaker, this is the year of significance, the one in which we don't want to be taken back, but we want to move forward. Dikwels gooi ons hande in die lug en ons aanvaar ons omstandighede en ons mag nie. Die ANC se tyd is verby. Deputy Speaker, in stark contrast to the ANC national government failures, the DA-run Western Cape government offers hope of a better future. Honourable Deputy Speaker, the Western Cape DA-run government looks after our most vulnerable citizens. And thank you, Premier and the Western Cape government, for your commitment to a 365-day approach to gender-based violence. We applaud this government for the appointment of 247 additional social service professionals to stabilise an overburdened welfare and child protection system. In the DA-run province, more than 76,000 GBV survivors have accessed psychosocial support services in the last financial year, provided and funded by the Provincial Department of Social Development. The DA-run province provided long-term psychosocial support to 4,000 victims of sexual offences and domestic violence across the 8 TTC centres over the last financial year. This caring province allocated 164 million rand to support MPOs that provide therapeutic and support services to people with disabilities. Deputy Speaker, the Provincial DSD has allocated 108.8 million to its substance abuse prevention and rehabilitation programs. The work of this government and department is not to tick boxes, but to address the real challenges that our communities encounter. The significant drop of 38.3% of rape cases in Delft is a direct consequence of the Western Cape Department of Social Development's focus on the fight against GBV and the launch of victim empowerment programs and GBV ambassadors. Deputy Speaker, these figures translate to tangible successes across our province. It is evidence of the true commitment of a caring government, as can be seen in the success achieved in the Swartland with the GBV ambassadors program that has been adopted in the IDP. In the Western Cape, women and children who are victims of crime and violence can access temporary shelter accommodations, social support services, paralegal support services, as well as skills training and development program. Subsidized bed spaces increased to 2,400 in the financial year in 37 shelters across the province. The department provided over 109,000 qualifying beneficiaries with access to cooked meals at 111 departmental community nutrition and development centers and 512 community kitchens across the province. Deputy Speaker, we as politicians should feel the need and urgency to assist our most vulnerable. Our duty to care should be a genuine belief that we can only be successful if we take each other by the hand. Government and the community must work together to rid our society of gangsterism, GBV, and poverty. We must be able to go back to the drawing board and become innovative in our approach. Whether you live in Chicago, in Lantana, in New York, in Bergendal, the opportunities and the support should be on the same level of urgency and equality and quality. Dis beter samewerking met plaaslike gemeenskappe, regeringsinstellings en nie-winsgewende organisasies om 'n veiliger en meer inklusiewe omgewing vir ons mense te skep. 'n Samelewing wat glo in 'n holistiese benadering tot veiligheid en een wat nie fokus op misdaadstatistieke nie, maar die dieper liggende oorsake. Kom ons bou aan ons welstand, kom ons red Suid-Afrika saam. Ek dank jou, Adjunct Speaker.
Baie dankie. I now recognize the Honourable Barnes. Order.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. The outgoing Premier, the outgoing Speaker, honorable members, guests,
Order.
and resilient people of the Western Cape. The incoming leadership and the executive of the Western Cape. The Premier's address yesterday was very thin.
Please allow the honourable member to proceed.
They can sense there's new leadership coming. The Premier's address yesterday was very thin on what his government has done to address challenges, widening inequalities, persistent poverty, rampant of unemployment for the black majority, African, coloured and Indians, and haunting spectre of escalating violent crimes, especially in the poor working class communities. Unqualified audits means little when it comes to communities to suffer without essential services. The enduring legacy demands decisive action from the ballot box. Our people must go and vote and usher out in change through the ballot box. While the DA clamours for more powers to be vested in the province, it has proven incapable of delivering of its own provincial competencies. Education, health, human settlements, and community safety have failed under their watch. On human settlements, for example, let me give you examples. On human settlements, MEC Simmers has completely failed with track record of financial mismanagement, not achieving targets. And in irregular appointments, like the one of the Chief Director of Human Settlements Planning, who was allegedly appointed without following due process. This is one of the DA's own version of cadre deployment. Due to the DA's incompetence, the province has failed to spend over 200 million earmarked for housing development, which it has returned to National Treasury. Returning millions to the National Treasury when our people in their desperate need for housing, it is shameful. The DA should hang their head in the sand. There are people of Royland sitting there now, staying in shacks. They couldn't get homes. We were here last year, visited. That 200 million could have contributed to them. Housing delivery in the province dropped from an average of 15,000 houses per year between 2004 and 2009 to just over 1,700, which has delivered by MEC Simmers department in the current financial year. This is a monumental failure and shows the collapse of housing delivery under this MEC and the Windy government, which delivered only 5,800 houses against a target of 8,400 houses in the previous financial year. They want devolution of powers when they can't even deliver in their own constitutional mandate. 5.5 million, let me join Member Dagmo, 5.5 million on litigation was spent in trying to stop people of Tafelberg, communities, people that were working for years doing domestic work in Sea Point. They are not seen to be as equal to own a house in Sea Point. Rather, the DA will go and defend and spend 5.5 million for them not to stay there. The DA government is unwilling to release suitable land in city center for social housing, include the site in the Ahmed Katrada house currently occupied by a Reclaim the Activist and even SABC building. The community of Maritzburg, they've asked me to come and ask MEC Simmers, when are they getting their houses as he promised in 2016, taking pictures with them. The Karoo is still waiting. Honorable Deputy Speaker, similar to how Israel is treating the people of Gaza, where they have closed energy and water provision, Windy's government is also depriving the activists living at the Ahmad Katrada house of these basic needs. It's not abroad, it's happening right here at Sea Point. The Reclaim the City and Difunukwazi activists have asked me to pose the following questions to the Premier, who's talking while I'm talking. Only 2 questions, and they want an answer on that. 1, what are the updates on the current energy provisions for the residents of Ahmad Katrada House, and why do these individuals continue to face energy poverty? 2, What are the barriers preventing your government from recognizing their occupation as a lived alternative? And what steps are being taken to address these barriers? That's directly to the Premier. They are listening to you. I hope when you respond later, Premier, you will provide response to this question. Honorable Deputy Speaker, similar to the failures in human settlements in the province, the DA also failed to provide quality education for all of the Western Cape. Currently, hundreds of learners, including those who applied on time, remain unplaced in schools. It is unacceptable that 2 months in the academic year, hundreds of learners still lack placement in spaces of school. South African Schools Act makes it obligatory for MEC to ensure every child of school age has a place in schools. Yet the DA government wants devolution of powers, but our children are at home without schools. Under the Premier Windy leadership, there has been a gradual decline in quality of education, particularly for the underprivileged in the Western Cape. The province has dropped from 5th in terms of matric pass rate and sits at the bottom when it comes to percentage of bachelor passes coming from the no-fee schools, which only merge of 26% of its bachelor passing from such schools. In contrast, Limpopo is boasting with 85% passes from no school fees. Premier Windy proudly touts the Western Cape as the leading for math passes, but conveniently overlooks the fact that only 25% of Western Cape learners take maths as a subject. Only 25. Only the Northern Cape has fewer learners, which is a smaller population than us. During the ANC's governance in the Western Cape, the matric pass rate was 14.3%, above the national average. For the first time under Windy's government, however, but the matric rate has been fallen below the average rate. This proves that the 1.2 billion spent on the Back on Track program was a waste. The DA failed miserably in this regard, which is why we urge our people to support the Bella Bill during the upcoming public hearings. Honorable Premier, when you respond, I urge you to respond to this question posed by the Equal Education. What is the government's overarching plan to manage and improve the school admissions process through the province, and what measures are being taken to integrate the unplaced learners into schools and helping them to catch up academically? Honorable Deputy Speaker, in addition to education and human settlements, health is also collapsing under Windy's watch. The DA closed down GF just a decade ago, in fact more than a decade now, and has failed to rebuild it to this day. Now Premier Windy's government wants to do the same to the people of Mbekweni, as it plans to close down both Mbekweni and Polar Park clinics after the commissioning of the Groenheuwel Day Hospital, which is 5 kilometers away from the community. We will fight side by side with the community to block these plans. Premier Windy, we must give the people a clear answer about his government's plan about these facilities so that they know what's happening around them. Service pressures, which force patients to sleep on the floors in our hospital, are said to worsen as confirmed by the HOD in his video statement that went viral this month. Additionally, patients are warned by staff at local clinics that chronic medication may run out due to insufficient funds, as money was spent on addressing the damages to facilities resulting from last year's taxi violence by the DA also. So it is disingenuous to pin this entirely on the budget cuts from the national government. We want to thank those that participated at the NHI public hearings. A clear message was sent out. We are also proud about the pilot project that we've seen in Knysna happening in George. Honorable Deputy Speaker, over 1,300 were murdered in the province, and over 1,400 were raped between October and December, just in 3 months. This is not normal. Faced with this dire situation, the Premier chooses to grandstand by calling for devolution of policing powers. What will they do when these powers are given to them and the legislature even fails to convene standing committees, just ordinary standing committees? Last year, Honorable Bosman convened only 3 standing committees. In July, to review the policing needs priorities, and in October to examine annual report, and in November the budget adjustment. In August, there was an oversight onto the leave base. That is a disgrace as a scanner. Even when the DA province recorded 130 murders in 1 week in September last year, the DA didn't see the need to convene meetings. This clearly shows that they don't care.
Honourable Member,
Honourable Deputy
if you can
Speaker,
just, before you begin, before you continue, I see there's a point of order. If you can just step aside. Honourable Deputy Chief Whip, what's your point of order?
Deputy Speaker, I wanted to know whether the member is willing to take a question.
Honourable Barnes, do you want to take a question?
I would love to have a cup of tea after 5 years. I've never spoken to her.
You may proceed, Honourable Barnes. You may proceed.
Crime is not solely the responsibility of SAPS. Provincial and local government spheres have a role to play in ensuring sufficient lighting, accessible roads, CCTV cameras, and many other factors, not only in Seapoint removing protesters. The DA government has failed to implement this in the province, yet it seeks more policing powers. Their job is removing flags of Palestine. Premier Windi spent over $1 billion on a safety plan, but crime in the province is worsening, and still he wants devolution of powers. I think Member Plato was the only one that understood that policing is not a matter of the SAPS, because he brought in walking for buses, and today he's absent in the House. Crime was at its lowest in the province under the ANC government, and that is a fact. We owe our success to good partnerships with community crime fighting structures like the community safety forums and Bambanani program. The DA government is undermining, underfunding, and destabilizing crime fighting structures like CPFs. And as a result, crime is worsening. We have consistently said to Premier that crime is not only a security issue, it is a social phenomenon. Response strategies should also include addressing causative factors, not just focusing on boots on the ground. Boots on the ground has cost us billions and no result. At the height of escalating violence in the province, the DA administration in the city is retrenching leave officers. 66 officers have been fired for failing competency tests.
Finish off, Honourable Barnes, finish off.
And more are said to be retrenched next month. Yet your loudmouth DA national leader has audacity to attack the Amapanyaza in the Gauteng province, who have proven capable and equal to the task. I thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honourable Barnes. I now recognise the Honourable Minister Mbombo.
Obekekileyo inkulumbuso yasephondweni utata uPremier Winde, Honourable Deputy Speaker, Honourable members of the Parliament, and also kubahlali balapha siyabulela ngentoba nisamkele. Izolo Premier reminded us about hope. Quoting ongasekhoyo utata Bishop Tutu, I quote, hope is being able to see that there is light despite all the darkness, and that we as the province, as the Premier said, that we should also be obsessed with a citizen-centric delivery. Deputy Speaker, we, the Department of Health and Wellness, also are obsessed with a person-centered care to deliver equitable quality services to all. Amidst the amount of darkness and gloomy weather of budget cuts, the growing population that we have, which is the Western Cape now being the third populous province, growing at the fastest rate, but ithemba likhona kwaye asidani naxa urhulumente kaNdlunkulu esitsweba nyaka nonyaka ngokwezemali. But I will leave the budget cuts impact for my budget speech, as today I want to showcase what the men and women Department of Health and Wellness have done despite the challenges that we're facing. Deputy Speaker, When we entered this venue yesterday, just opposite the entrance gate, you will have noticed a big truck branded Department of Health Communication Unit. This is EMS mobile that has been used across disasters in the province and runs call centers to save lives. Gone are days of just sitting in a building somewhere stuck in the metro during the times when people are in need of communication in emergencies. This is just one of the vehicles we showcased recently for our readiness for emergency responses, including what we showcased. It was about a tranche of 114 new and replacement vehicles that included the Jaws of Life ambulances, the wheelchair vehicles, the patient transport buses, just to name a few. Talking about the EMS, the men and women, which is the first contact of health services, those in need, we are the only province licensed by the South African Civil Aviation Authority to fly drones. Since 2020, our department has been operating these drones that provide real-time situational awareness to emergency services, enabling a swift and informed response. Last year, Deputy Speaker, we expanded the rescue drone from Metro, but now also to include the rural district. In all, we've got about 5 drones now that are operational. With more pilots trained, the province's drones had completed approximately more than 15 missions in 2023 and were able to serve more residents in our busy festive season, where people are trapped in burning shacks and so forth. In this festive season, Deputy Speaker, the EMS in total responded to 67,143 calls, and where actually our partners, which is the Air Ambulance, AMS, they also conducted about 87 missions. Whilst our healthcare services will not exist without the state-of-the-art of our staff, we do need to invest in state-of-the-art technology so that service can become more effective, more efficient, and more accessible. Deputy Somlomo, we eat innovation for branch. Talking about emergencies, 62 of our facilities make use of our hospital emergency center triage information system, in short, HEPTIS. This system helped the whole country during COVID to gather evidence on how alcohol impacts on the emergencies. And that's what the president used in applying restrictions to protect the emergency centers during the COVID. This is system helping us to provide data that we share with other sectors on Prime within 24 hours. Our violence prevention unit between August and October 2023 alone facilitated 156 stakeholder engagements between all safety stakeholders. These include South African Police Services, the NPA, and different government departments, to name a few. We are the only province that is actually is ahead in regard to tackling social determinants of health by having the violence prevention unit. Deputy Speaker, less than 3 kilometers away from here, we have got a PAL hospital, a provincial hospital. This 100-year-old facility not only provides essential services to the PAL and Greater Drakenstein district, but also acts as the regional referral hospital for the majority of residents living in Stellenbosch and also in the West Coast areas. In this facility, we have hundreds of dedicated officials who ensure that our patients receive quality health services. During the COVID-19 pandemic, PAL Hospital responded to service pressures by converting their 2-bed high care unit into 25-bed intensive care unit and made available 60 additional beds to accommodate COVID-19 patients at the height of the pandemic. We built a modern psychiatry unit at a cost of 35 million rand 9 years ago. More recently, the hospital acquired a new state-of-the-art CT scanner and also a new chiller unit and refurbished patient elevators. Currently, a new maternity theater is being created that will cater for maternal health procedures exclusively, freeing up existing general theaters for other surgeries and procedures, including that of emergencies. Honorable Deputy Speaker, still in the innovation, Premier mentioned our robotics, dashboards and others. But I also want to remind the House about what else we have achieved in the past on innovation. by implementing our e-vision, which is electronic e-vision. We're the only province with a unique patient identifier. We have got electronic discharge record, among the others. These are the kind of innovations that are already in the cutting edge. In my budget speech, I will mention about the innovations that include clinical interventions, where there's intersectionality of the medical technology, the digital health, and also the patient care. But as with the unique patient identifier, it's not only about going paperless, but it's also about making sure that we are ready in regard to the climate change. We are the only province actually that are more towards race to what we call race to net zero strategy and participation in the global green and health hospitals network. We are leading on healthcare without harm, which is part of the climate change. As Deputy Speaker, actually we won 2 awards, I think in 2020 and 2022 in the healthcare climate challenges in the categories of the green gas reduction, climate resilience, and also on leadership. We are actively saving our planet by making sure that we are applying all those international targets and also the goals. One of them is about the energy. Premier mentioned that we have installed the inverters for the sake of the load sharing. We're also installing the solar panels. And about 10 of our hospitals in the metro, they are already exempted from the load sharing. At Tigerberg Hospital, in regard to the water from our boreholes is currently being treated through a reverse osmosis process and is providing potable water to our facility. 7 of our hospitals convert non-anatomical medical waste into sterile disposable treated by both product, which is environmentally friendly. We are collaborating with agriculture and environmental affairs and development planning to recycle hospital food waste into fertilizer, that is the compost, and roll out of food gardens and our facilities. On water saving initiatives, which will be expanded to 6 additional hospitals during this budget year and further in the next budget year, we are being greener and kinder to the environment, which also impacts the overall being of the society. Speaker, having mentioned the issues about the innovation, but also it does also require almost all of us to be able to, when we have the universal coverage, we are ready. It's all about that. Lastly, I want to mention that NHI is not universal health coverage. That's why we made an input to the President. That's why we have asked together, and Premier and I have requested the President, please do not sign the bill. Take it back to Parliament. It is the responsibility of the legislators to ensure they incorporate all the thousands and thousands of the inputs that were gathered from all over to make sure that we do the right thing of the universal health coverage. Never ever any time in history in the health system you see so many of the doctors protesting because of our unemployment. Member Barnes was talking about the issues of the patients on the floor and all of those. 1.5 billion 2023-2024 budget that the Department of Health and Wellness got a cut from the National Treasury. Until actually this year, whilst there's still going to be budget speech, there's still going to be further cuts. It's the National Treasury that has cut us in regard to that. So therefore, that issue of about the patients on the floor, but that you have got doctors protesting, and there'll be more protests as people getting unemployed. Taking note that the wage bill... Order. Take into consideration that the wage bill that was agreed upon, which is everyone agrees, the public servants do require a salary increase. But actually, the issue is about the employer are the provinces, which they've never been part of those negotiations. So now the provinces have to take in all the wage bill, and when the minister at the national level indicated that there will be an announcement by the National Minister of Finance about how there will be more money for the unemployed.
Finish off, Mr. Minister.
That unemployed, It's about actually that they still owe us money for the wage bill. So the money that they'll be saying they'll be adding is the money they owe us from the wage bill. Having said that, thank you very much to all the healthcare workers. We will fight for you. We will make sure that the resources need to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I now recognize the Honourable Kasim. Order. You may proceed.
As the EFF, we did not expect anything coming from this DA's Premier of Big Business.
Honourable Kasim,
that
just 1 minute, please. Honourable members, we've been very good at giving everyone the opportunity to speak today in front of the podium. Honourable Class, I see your hand, just 1 minute. I would please ask that you afford the same to the Honourable Kasim. Please, Honourable Bakufos, this is her time now. Honourable Class, do you have a point of order?
Yes. Thank you, Speaker, for a point of order. What we realize every time when the EFF go to speak or do something, Honourable Murray always have a negative impact against us. I don't know why, and if it's continuing like that, we are ready for...
No. Honourable members, Honourable Murray, stand up, please, Honourable Murray. Honourable members, I'm on the... Honourable Bakufos. I'm trying to speak. Honourable members, can I call you to order, please? Sit. Keep quiet.
This old man must retire.
Honourable Murray.
Must move here. It is not all this process.
Honourable Murray. Honourable members, can I call you to order? Honourable Bakufos, I don't want to name you again. I would like to have the floor back. Can you give me a moment to deal with the situation? Thank you very much. Can I have some order in the House? Honourable Lacquer, can I please handle... Honourable Murray. This is the last time I'm calling your name, and I will ask you to leave if you do not keep quiet when I'm calling your name. Honourable Murray, that is once. I'm asking now for the other members to be called to order so I can deal with that. Honourable member of the NCOP. Honourable member. I understand, but I can't deal with it while you shout. Honourable NCOP delegate, honourable member, can I ask that you give me a moment? Okay, thank you. Can we all...
Who are you?
Now,
Who are you?
Please just let me feel this and I will recognize you. Honourable Murray, can you stand up, please?
Who are you?
Now, can I have some order, please? I want everybody to sit down till I have dealt with this matter. Honourable Murray, did you cast aspersions or say any comments that are against the rules that we have just talked about this whole morning? So in terms of Rule 59, what exactly did you say? All right, Honourable Murray, I am the presiding officer. I would like you to withdraw all the comments you have made. Thank you. Honourable Murray, this is a serious matter. Please may I ask that you withdraw all comments and refrain from casting aspersions on anybody.
I withdraw all comments and casting aspersions on people who continuously make a noise.
Thank you, Honourable Mayor. Please be seated. There's nothing wrong with that. Honourable Lacka. Honourable Class. Honourable Kondla, I'm waiting so I can actually... Honourable Lacka, what's your point of order?
Deputy Speaker, Honourable Mare has adhered to your instruction, but then he put a rider. Yeah. I want him to withdraw totally and not putting some riders here. We are not his children. He must learn to behave himself in the house. We can be equal to him, but we are respecting this house.
Thank you very much, Honourable Lacka, for that point. Honourable Murray, please, we had unity here. We had a proper debate where everyone was listening. I would really like you to not stir up the House like this. So it is not necessary to throw comments out and cause one huge volcanic eruption here. Can I ask that you will abide by that? Please, if I can just ask you to stand up so that we can complete this debate and allow the Premier to answer the debate at the end of the day. No. Okay. Sure.
There's only a rule here, cause aspersions on a particular person. All right? Now I am saying that person who made the noise, I withdraw. What's wrong with it?
So, one, I'll tell you what's wrong with it. One, in terms of Rule 42, I maintain order. In terms of any disruptions and unnecessary points of order, I maintain order, Honourable Maria. It is not your job. So it's not for you to tell anybody to keep quiet. So you are incorrect in stating that that is not a rule. It is very much the fact that I, as the presiding officer, have a task to keep everybody calm here. So I would like you to withdraw. Honourable Barnes, I do recognise you. Just let me finish with this.
This honourable members called me a racist. Have you got the ruling on that?
Okay, Honourable Marais. Honourable Marais, I will consult with Hansard on that, but I would like you to please just withdraw all comments made. Just full stop. If I can request that of you, it would be most helpful for today's debate.
As a respect, I withdraw.
Thank you very much. Honourable members.
I'm a respectable member.
Thank you very much.
Including calling us foreigners.
No.
Including calling us foreigners.
I would like to now request that all points of order, Honourable Kama, is it related? Because I'm not going to deal with it if it's not. You may proceed.
Oh, thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, I think before the fighter started to speak, the mic was not working and all of that. So I was going to make a humble request that we perhaps start her time from the start, you know, and then there was the obvious.
Honourable Kama, thank you very much. But we are 3 minutes 49 left of Honourable Kasim's speech, so I wouldn't be able to get her to start.
Sorry about that. I was trying to say I couldn't even hear a thing in that 10 seconds because the mic was off and there were those
okay, she's
comments
10 seconds from the beginning of her speech, so I will grant that, but can I please ask honourable members on both sides, let's just breathe. We have wonderful people here witnessing this debate, and I would ask that there be no further points of order on this matter, if I'm in agreement with the chief whips of both sides. Thank you very much. Honourable Kasim, you may proceed.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, I was saying that as the EFF, we did not expect anything coming from this DA's Premier of Big Business that would address the continued inequality in this province. So yesterday's address by the Premier was just another repetition of false hope. But let me start by saying, Deputy Speaker, that the Premier and this DA-led government is a good example of how one can have power, all the power in the world, but in reality, they are not really clued up on how and when to use those powers. Here in the Western Cape, Deputy Speaker, the DA is in control and has powers to the majority of our wards, our municipalities and this province in a whole. However, the same DA who has failed to deliver on basic and simple needs while in power are now seeking additional powers through the Provincial Powers Bill. Deputy Speaker, only a delusional government would want to assume more powers when the powers they already have They have failed to execute anything significant. This DA have failed to address the most basic things that they could have provided with the powers they already have. But look at them, still wanting to assume more responsibilities for policing, railways and harbour, among others. Deputy Speaker, I'm not sure if this is the DA wanting to add more failures to their list. Yesterday, the Premier spoke about 1 or 2 successes in the agricultural field, but failed to address the most important fact that at the heart of the inequality in this province lies the skewed patterns of land ownership, specifically in the agricultural sector, where 17% of the white minority in this province owns 70% of land, whilst the majority of 49% colours and 35% Africans population in this province own only 15% and 1% of land. Land disposition in this is a historical injustice, and any government that is serious about addressing inequality should start with a program of land redistribution. The consequences, Deputy Speaker, of landlessness has rendered many of our people homeless, living in informal structures in backyards and informal settlements. Yesterday, Deputy Speaker, the Premier had failed once again to touch on plans of how this provincial government and how provincial land will be released for housing purposes, Deputy Speaker. It is a sad reality that the Western Cape has over 600 informal settlements, whilst there are pockets of land close to places of economic opportunity. But this DA won't release that land for provision of low-cost housing for the poor because it will ire the constituents. Deputy Speaker, I'm not sure which planet the Premier and the MEC for Education lives on, but are they aware that over 13,000 matriculants in the Western Cape have failed their 2023 NSC exams? To add, Deputy Speaker, the Western Cape is actually in the bottom 5 performers of matric exam outcomes, where we know very well that it used to be on one of the top performers in the province, or in the country rather. Therefore, celebrating 1 or 2 individuals speaks to the ineptitude of the Premier and the MEC of Education, who have disappointed the entire province. Deputy Speaker, we further reiterate our stance that Eskom must sort out its mess and end load shedding now. Majority of our poor people will not be able to afford electricity once its price is dictated by the greedy private sector. But in conclusion, Deputy Speaker, the only thing that the EFF can agree with on the Premier is when he said that this is an exceptional province, Premier, with an exceptional people, with exceptional people who deserve an exceptional government, led by an exceptional Premier. But unfortunately, Deputy Speaker, the current Premier, Alan Winde, is not that, because what we have here is a true reflection of a mediocre government led by a mediocre man. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Kassim. I now recognise the Honourable Minister Allen.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, Honourable Premier, Honourable Cabinet colleagues, Honourable members of this Provincial Parliament, honoured guests, let me firstly say I wish to commend the administration for bringing Parliament to the Drakenstein municipal area and by extension the wider district, and then by extension to the people of the Western Cape. It is 34 years ago to the month, 34 years ago to the month when Nelson Mandela walked the very ground of Paul as he exited prison as a free man. However, ANC rule underpinned by corruption, maladministration and cadre deployment have shattered the hopes and dreams of so many. Yesterday, during the State of the Province address delivered by the Premier Alan Winde, one could not help but notice the difference between the State of the Province and that of the nation as delivered by President Ramaphosa. Let's consider, Deputy Speaker, the state of the nation. President Ramaphosa's recognition of multiple crises attempted to distance himself and the national ANC government from the very problems that he spoke about. He spoke about the electricity crisis, rampant levels of crime, together with high unemployment rates, as if he had no control over those things. He spoke as if he wanted to distance himself from the very province and problems that the ANC is ultimately responsible for. That speaks of a leader that takes no accountability, no responsibility, and that has no political will. Now let us consider the state of the province. The Premier outlined progress made, commitments fulfilled, and promise to continue the work that we have started here in the Western Cape. The Premier did not detach himself from the realities faced by the residents of this province, unlike what the President of our country attempted to do. Let's not forget, it was the President, while serving as the Deputy President in 2014, that led the task team responsible for turning around Eskom. So when the Chief Whip quotes Sylvia Lucas as saying that load shedding ultimately is not the end of the world, I'm here to confirm for many, it's actually the end of their life. Let me qualify that, because we can confirm an analysis by the South African Police Service indicated that on average, Deputy Speaker and members of this House, and to everyone listening to my voice now, we can confirm it is indeed the end of the world for many, as 25.7% of all contact crimes occur during load shedding. We can also confirm that attempted murders, aggravated robberies, and rape were committed during load shedding, and that accounts for 25.7%. For the people of Paul, for those that have been victims of property-related crimes, that figure, Deputy Speaker, stands at 29.2%. There is a direct correlation between load shedding and increased levels in crime. So it's definitely the end of life for many, sadly, and the end of the world for many. Speaker, allow me to delve more into the direct responsibilities within the mandate that I have been given and our department. And against this backdrop, let me firstly say I wish to congratulate our SAPS officials and teams from the Western Cape that have been rewarded with Excellence Awards last week Friday at the National SAPS event held in Johannesburg. We have always maintained that we have good, capable SAPS members within the service, but we will never shy away from calling out the corrupt, calling out the lazy SAPS officers that we need to ultimately remove from our service. And the Western Cape and the community at large can certainly be proud of these officials. Deputy Speaker, the DA-led provincial government remains committed to address the challenges faced in our province. The last 5 years to this day still shows that if it weren't for the DA-led government, our country would potentially have been on its knees. This cuts across every sector, whether it be the economy, health, education, many others, and of course, safety. So when Deputy Speaker, Member Klaas highlights Zolani SAP station, I've already had engagements with Captain Leroux, and after that particular station was revamped in 2022, Deputy Speaker, it was vandalized as a result of the community having lost their trust in the South African Police Service. It's a direct mandate of Public Works and the South African Police Service. That's why when we call for devolution of policing powers, we want that responsibility, but we won't even shy away from the fact that our oversight must lead to better service delivery. So we are on that particular issue, and we are driving it to ensure that the residents of that particular substation can get the help that they need. But prior to being afforded this particular mandate by the residents of this province and taking office in 2019, the Premier presented his 10-year plan of growth and taking our province to heights that we have never seen before. Under his visionary leadership, the previous speaker made a comment that I wouldn't even want to repeat because it sounds so absurd. Because we have seen vision, we have seen commitment from the Premier, and for that, he should be commended. But as members of this House, I think it's also very vital that we show gratitude to the residents of this province that have partnered with our municipalities, that have partnered with provincial departments, that have showed their resilience, they have showed their adaptability. Hence, we have been able to pull in the right direction. But allow me to explain this further. For continued periods, the Western Cape was the province with the most murders in our country. This was not at any point due to the provincial government falling short. We have instead stepped in and we have stepped up, but it was mainly due to the inept, unqualified national government who has consistently failed our residents. And quite frankly, the national government is just setting our men and women up to fail under our police service. Imagine, Deputy Speaker, we are requiring 28,000, ideally 28,000 SAPS members at station level in our province. We are currently sitting at 17,500 SAPS members. Those members are under-resourced and they are understaffed in various of our problematic areas. Our murder hotspots all have above average ratio of police to population. I can take the Deputy Speaker and any member to Cluttersville, a police to population ratio of 1 officer for over 1,300 residents. We can go to Khayelitsha and it will be 1 officer for over 800 residents, but our average in our province is 1 officer for every 550 residents. We are saying we will be able to quickly amend, quickly implement strategic leadership and management as we have received from the Premier to address that particular tide. Because the Premier has stepped in and we know that now we are pulling in the right direction. The Premier highlighted yesterday that between the 4 priority provinces, KZN, Eastern Cape, together with the Western Cape, and Gauteng, this is the only province since 2019 that saw a reduction in murders per capita. Eastern Cape, Gauteng, KZN saw double-digit increases over that particular period. We are saving lives, but we know we have a very long way to go. The last quarter of the 2022-2023 financial year and the first quarter of the current financial year showed a 14 and 15% reduction in the murder rate respectively here in our province. The second and third quarters of the 2023-2024 financial year, with its unfortunate increases, remind us that we still have a long way to go to combat the violence and murders that we are seeing in our province. But the Premier clearly highlighted the significance of LEAP, of K9 units. Let me reflect on K9 units. K9 units in the South African Police Service over a 5-year period have received a reduction of 38% to their particular deployment, 38% less K9 unit members and dogs that we had 5 years ago. We have stepped in Swartland, in Overstrand, in Mossel Bay, and we will continue in that fashion to help and assist rural safety units, our peace officers. All independent reports are showing that we are pulling in the right direction. We are wanting to help the South African Police Service. We are wanting to step in. When I hear Deputy Speaker Member Barnes speak about failing, imagine how worse it would have been. Because now there's copycats. There's copycats in Gauteng that is potentially that have already tried to implement a LEAP program, and we all know what has happened in that regard. Thank you, Minister. If you could
just take a seat.
KZN visited.
There's a point of order. If you could just take a seat. There is 29 seconds left. Honourable Kama, what's your point of order?
Yes, through you, Deputy Speaker, is the MEC prepared to take a question?
Will I get additional time if I answer that question?
I don't think so.
Seeing I won't get additional time, I will conclude.
You may proceed.
Deputy Speaker, I've spoken about the evolution and the need for it. The Constitution makes provision. I've spoken about how we have stepped in, how we have stepped up. I want to assure the residents of Paul, of Drakensberg and the wider Western Cape, we will continue. We will not deter from our commitment to make this province a safer province for all, because we are wanting to realize the dream that Nelson Mandela had when he walked these very streets almost 34 years ago. And under the leadership of the Premier, together with the Cabinet and all members, I wish to urge this particular Parliament to work with us so that we can ultimately see our young people grow up in dignified communities, and the Western Cape is a safer province, and all the work that we do.
Thank you.
My innige dank, Premier, en aan almal vir alles wat ons doen.
Baie
The
dankie,
29 seconds
Afbare
appears to be
Minister.
34 now.
Your time
I didn't
is up.
hear any time to stop because we don't want to stop working. We don't
Thank
want
you,
to
Minister.
stop working, and the residents of this province
Thank you,
will
Minister.
ultimately
Your
have
time
an
is up.
opportunity come May to vote
Honourable
for
Minister,
a
your
DA-led
time is
national
up.
government to implement DA policies.
Honourable
what we
Minister
have seen
Allen,
here
your time
in our
is up.
province. The noise is making it very difficult to
Honourable
hear the,
Minister, your
to hear the
time
Deputy
is up.
Speaker. And as the noise continue, I wish to say, as people are saying,
Honourable Minister
thank you
Allen.
for all
Keep
that
on
you have
singing
done,
for your
our
supper. Keep on
residents.
singing
We
for your-
can't do it without you.
Honourable Minister Allen, that was a little bit over the time. Please, if I actually call your name, I expect that you adhere, as all honourable members, to the time. Please, members. I now recognise the Honourable Christians.
Deputy Speaker, on behalf of the ACDP, I would like to respond to the State of the Province address. But Premier, you're making a mistake every year. You cannot compare yourself, your government, with the ANC government. Hulle is stikkend. Gister het hulle gesing, klim op die wa, maar die wa is gesteel.
Honourable
So laat dit
Member,
wa.
Honourable Member Christians. Honourable Member Christians, if you could just, Honourable Member Christians, if you can just take a step side. I see there's a point of order. Honourable Deputy Chief Whip of the Opposition.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, on a point of procedure to protect the Premier as well, can the Honourable Christian speak through you to the Premier, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Christians. If you can speak through me, you may proceed, Honourable Christians.
Yes, we know that everything the ANC touches breaks, stolen or disappear. So I want to tell the people of the Western Cape that the ANC and the EFS is disastrous for this province and this country. That is a fact. Dan kom hulle hier en hulle sê vir die mense hulle gaan wen. Ek dink hulle gaan 10% kry in volgende jaar se verkiesing in die Weskaap nie. So let me return to
Honourable
my
Christians, I'm sorry to
portfolios.
interrupt you again, but there is a point of order. Honourable Klaas, what's your point of order?
Yeah, the point of order that I can raise is that why he addressed the small party doesn't address the leading party of the...
No, Honourable Klaas, that's not a point of order. Please, honourable members, let's not have frivolous points of order. Please allow the honourable Christians to proceed.
Must reply to the
Moet ek hulle verder
not
kwaad
to
maak?
us.
Long live Israel, long live Israel.
Order, members, please.
Long live Israel. Vir julle nog kwaad maak.
Honourable members, can we
Premier,
have some order in the House?
Premier, let me just say.
1 minute, honourable
Premier, let me
Christians.
just
1
say-
minute.
Let me just say, I'm speaking on behalf of the residents of
Order.
the Western Cape. Mr. Gert Maria has concerns of his community in a base plaas, and they have problems transporting the learners to the schools. They've been fighting with the Western Cape Education Department for a long time, and there was a major accident. Mr. Maria tells us that they don't return his emails, they don't pick up the phone, but there's a great concern in Mossel Bay in the base class employees working for the farm. Their children cannot go to school because of the lack of transport. So, Premier, I want you to investigate and look at that problem. A major problem that we still have with education is, yesterday, Sunday, I was in Kraaifontein. I went to Mitchell's Plain because we're campaigning. We're going to do well as the ACDP. And I went to Paarl yesterday, speaking to residents, and they're telling me that their children cannot find placement to the nearest school. So what happens now is they must get in public transport. It costs them 1,000 Rand a week or 500 Rand a week, and it's all of their SASSA money. So I want the Premier to investigate why in Rocklands, Mitchell's Plain, in Paarl, in Kraaifontein, all over, our learners cannot get placement because of an influx of learners of other areas. We will have to look at that, and we want to make sure that everybody in the province gets quality education, not because of anything, but because they cannot travel to far distances to get to school. Now, Premier, also as the ACDP, we believe in appropriate sex education. But I was appalled the other day when a parent of Parofalei Primary School is unhappy and furious because he discovered in a book in the life skills class containing scripted sex lessons, talking about wet dreams, talking about ugly stuff that is not for our ears of an 11-year-old, grade 5. So we believe in appropriate sexual education, not to force our learners to sit in school. That is the job of the parents to teach our children when it comes to sex education. So that is a major problem. We still believe, instead of promoting nudity, because that's nudity, pornography, we cannot promote that in our schools. And as the ACDP, we will push a Christian agenda. We call in for religious instruction to be being brought back to our schools. Religious instruction back to our schools. We have major problems when it comes to discipline. And of course, I always speak, and I've said to the Premier, and I spoke to the Department of the Neighbourhood Watchers, move to community safety. I still believe, as the ACDP, when it comes to neighbourhood watchers, that will help us in reduce crime even further. The Premier mentioned yesterday there's over 14,600 neighbourhood watchers. I've said it before, I'm going to say it again, that at least if we can give them not a stipend, insurance cover or a life cover, something, so when they die on duty, that they at least die in dignity. I was in Mitchell's Plain where volunteers walk with people to the taxi rank 5 o'clock in the morning, and they not getting anything. But what they're asking is at least give us a life cover or give us something, because I've worked it out. If you work out a funeral cover, basic funeral cover of 70 Rand, it will cost the province R1 million for 15,000. I don't think that is a lot. So I also want to say, because this is my portfolio, my standing committee, I'm very passionate when it comes to reducing crime. And as the ACDP, we come with solutions. We just don't criticize, we come with solutions. And I've been in contact with Minister Regan Allen on numerous occasions, on the phone, in his office. And I tell you that when there is a problem, he listens. So I want to compliment you, Minister Allen, for your openness. I can phone him and say, here's a threat. I can tell him there's a case of police brutality. There's a colonel now investigating those cases. So that is what we do. We just don't complain like the ANC, like the EFF. We look at solutions, how are we going to take this province going forward.
Thank you very much. Yes.
In closing, I want to say the ACDP supports the powers bill, and we must have the devolution of powers.
Thank you very much.
We will have an effective province. I thank you.
Thank you very much, honourable members. Can we have some order, please? Order. Order. Okay, thank you very much. I now recognise the Honourable Murray.
That is just one vote.
Honourable members, let's give everybody the rights to have
Speaker,
the podium.
Premier, honourable members, guests. Ek het met onverdeelde aandag gister geluister na die premier. Wat my baie teleeggesteld is dat 'n baie mooi toespraak was gehou, goed geformuleer, maar slegs in Engels. Parelse mense praat Afrikaans. Die taalmonument van Afrikaans is in Parel. En nou dat ons baie mooi stilte gaan het, kan ek voortgaan met my toespraak. Speaker, wat my baie teleeggesteld het, is dat, alhoewel Parel nou die taalmonument is, het die premier verkies om slechts Engels te praat, maar ek vergewe jou, want ek beskou jou as 'n vriend, nie 'n vyand nie. Prima. Ek weet nie of het opzettelijk was, maar ek glo nie het was opzettelijk dat hy net Engels gepraat het nie. Maar die toespraak was nie, sal hom nie laat kwalifiseer vir 'n universiteitsgraad in internasionale reg en sovoorts nie. Dit was meer 'n paassyfer vir hoërskool. Ek gee die premier volpunte vir die repair work om ANC rompslomp reg te maak. Speaker, in Africa, people are still dying of hunger and ethnic conflicts, especially in Sudan. In Africa, 700,000 children suffer from malnutrition. It's been reported 5 million people in the Sudan in Africa has fled their country. We don't say anything about them. The ANC is quiet. They worry about Hamas, worry about your own people in Africa. The UNO described what happens as an ocean of neglect. The world has become saturated with bad news from Africa. The world is tired of getting bad news from Africa.
Honourable Murray, if you could just, Honourable Murray, if you could.
Ons moet ontsnap van hierdie mayhem
Honourable
wat
Murray,
in ons nou is.
I just have a
Dis
point
nog
of order.
'n point of order is al wat hulle kan doen.
Honourable Murray, if you can just wait 1 minute. Honourable Class, Honourable Class.
Sit down.
Honourable Murray, just 1 minute. Step aside. Honourable Class, what's your point of order?
Sit down.
What's your point of order?
Yeah, before he must sit down first.
No, Honourable Class.
I refuse.
I can't raise to the brutal person like this.
Honourable Murray, would you just take your seat, please? There's a point of order.
Yes.
My leg is so I can't sit.
I leave my
Honourable
point of
Class,
order
I
because
hope it's not a frivolous point of order. What's your point of order?
I want to raise a question. Can you allow me to raise a question to him?
It's his choice. Honourable Murray, would you take a question?
I only take intelligent questions, no.
You may proceed.
To escape the mayhem and the tyranny that's in this country, endemic. Let me quote you Dr. Alan Busak, who I'm sure all the people you know. He's one of those fighters in the UDF for equality. But Busak has just said, South Africa has never been as racist as now. Alan Busak quote. Premier, the DA must wake up before Africa swallows up the last bastion of liberty and good governance in Africa, namely the Western Cape. We in the Western Cape must aspire to a new and higher level of direct governance and accountability to the people directly and not make them accountable to a government they never elected. The ANC's never won the Western Cape, so why should they govern us? We need to manage our own fiscal and taxation policies. If a two-state solution is proposed and universally accepted, and I see the ANC says, we want a two-state solution for Israel. Why do you reject a two-state solution for the Western Cape? Because we are the same. We want freedom.
Order.
Just like Palestine wants their freedom. Through the Speaker, you had your chance and you messed it up.
Order, honourable member, talk through me.
Speaker, the Premier has mentioned growth for jobs of 1 trillion over 4 years.
Honourable Marais, just take your seat, please. There is a point of order.
Chair, this I need to protect both the elder of the House, Honourable Marais, and our leader of the opposition. I think the commentary in between is not assisting.
Correct.
Honourable Marais must not speak directly to Member Dugmore. Please, thank you.
Thank you. Honourable Marais, please speak through me. We can avoid any unnecessary
I will
disruption.
address the ANC through the DA. Right.
You may proceed, Honourable Marais. You may proceed.
Through the Speaker, Premier, how can economic growth remain sustainable if we have open borders, floodgates between us and the rest of Africa of people seeking jobs here? How's your economic growth going to be able to sustain itself? We heard nothing. Giving people food parcels is creating state dependency, which is not sustainable. We need solutions that will sustain the welfare of generations to come, irrespective of their race, their color, their creed, or their culture. Premier, you spoke of matric results of 81.5%, which is, I think, is really good. But when will bursaries ever be available to these students after they've passed matric? We teach colored emerging farmers farming methods, but where's the land? The Khoi wants land. Where's the land? Where will the people farm? We send them to colleges to prepare them for the unemployment queue. I only speak English so that the DA can understand, because they can't understand Afrikaans. I'm doing you a favor. Speak.
Honourable Marais, you almost done, so you need to finish off your last few sentences.
Excuse me?
You almost done. You will have to finish your last few sentences.
I think this is most unfair that my speech is done by the ANC and not by myself. I said this before, Speaker. What are you going to do with the Powers Bill? Wat gaan die maak met my bill wat vra vir selfdetermination vir die Weskaap? Ek het niks gesê daaroor nie. Die Weskaap weier om deel te bly van 'n Suid-Afrika wat in die grond gedryf word deur 'n kommunistiese ANC.
Baie
Dankie.
dankie, Honourable Marais. Thank you very much. I now recognise the Honourable Bartman. If I can gently ask that the audience do not participate in the debate, even if the Honourable Marais is coercing you to do so. Honourable members, ladies and gentlemen, you may proceed, Honourable Bartman.
Honourable Speaker, people of Paarl and the Western Cape, you know, deep down, you know exactly where you stand with someone. Hope blurs the line a bit, but you know. Speaker, our province has been through drought, floods, fires, COVID-19, load shedding, and locusts. I drove through the thunderstorm in Laingsburg that horrible evening of 3 February, desperately trying to get to safety in one piece. Many others did as well. We woke up the next morning in the Karoo with no electricity and no signal, powerless. I bumped into the Laingsburg mayor on the 4th of February, that Sunday, on the streets of Laingsburg in Bergsig, and I asked her, what is she going to do about the situation? Order. She responded publicly on the streets of Laingsburg that there's nothing she can do, it is Eskom's problem. Residents' food and medicine was already starting to go off. You couldn't charge your cell phone, there was hardly any signal, ATMs were not working, petrol stations were running out of diesel, businesses shut down. The Lord Milner Hotel, one of the most famous hotels in South Africa for its history, shut their doors indefinitely until further notice. The pawpaw finally hit the fan. A natural disaster quickly turned into a humanitarian disaster, and when it left people without electricity for almost 2 weeks, it was the Western Cape government that stepped in. Because we said, not on our watch. The Western Cape government sent engineers to fix the problem quicker, generators to keep water and sewerage systems running, partnered with Vodacom to set up charging stations for phones and power banks. Water was trucked in. The Department of Social Work and Gift of the Givers assisted with food relief. Over 5,000 food parcels were provided to indigent households who lost perishable foods. School feeding schemes continued, and another 3,000 food parcels are on their way to learners from indigent households across the Karoo. The Karoo is finally back online, and we do thank Eskom and the Western Cape government collectively for the speed with which they worked. Today, yes, Councillor Aletta Theron, Councillor Lindy Potgieter and Councillor Juliette Pieterse, who continued to keep the people of Laingsburg informed, despite a mayor saying this is not her problem. Today we need to ask ourselves, what could have been done to have prevented this? This time it was a thunderstorm. Tomorrow it could be a complete blackout due to the strain on the grid. This time it was a region. Tomorrow it could be a whole province. Deputy Speaker, despite having to ask ourselves these very difficult questions, the Western Cape government did not sit back and say, there's nothing we can do, it is Eskom's problem. We said, not on our watch. Deputy Speaker, you know, I get it. It is difficult leaving a man you've loved for so long, but who've changed now into someone you simply do not recognize anymore. But we need to be honest with ourselves. We know exactly where we stand with the ANC. Don't let hope blur the lines. So today I want to tell the people of the Western Cape who feel stuck in a relationship with an unrecognizable, unsympathetic, uncaring, abusive man, this is how you divorce the ANC. But Deputy Speaker, divorcing is expensive. Law school has taught me that, especially if he is the sole provider. So how do you leave without remaining economically beholden to him? So today we're going to do a step-by-step on divorcing the ANC. You open your own bank account and you start saving. You go to your nearest Western Cape Access Center. There are 77 in the province, by the way, where you can work on your CV for free. There are staff to assist you. You can print and also email copies to yourself. There are computer literacy programs at these Cape Access Centers. They can assist you with registering your business online. Take your registration documents then and submit them to your municipality. Ask them for help being added to the respective supplier database. If you do not wish to go to a Cape Access Center in the Western Cape, you can also use one of the 1,567 free Wi-Fi spots across the province and access information on your phone. You could download the Western Cape Jump Entrepreneurship app to help you find financing and mentorship and help you scale your business. For those who don't know, the Jump app also assists you with managing and forecasting your cash flow and helping you find relevant tender information on it. If you have a business and you want to scale, you can apply to the DDAT SME Booster Fund that the Minister mentioned. And through this fund, Deputy Speaker, 515 women-owned businesses have been supported out of the 860 that the Minister mentioned
Honourable Member,
earlier.
if you can just step aside, there's a point of order.
Honourable Deputy Chief
Chair,
Whip.
another point of order. Is the Deputy Chief Whip willing to respond to a question on her new appointment as the Deputy MEC for Economic Development?
Honourable Bartman, would you like to take a question?
No, thank you.
You may proceed.
You could visit the DDAT website and find export material resources guide tailored for the average small and medium-sized businesses for exports. You could also find a respective link for the Export Competitive Enhancement Program. So the people of Paarl, I want you to listen closely. If you are currently exporting or you are export ready but are facing technical challenges to access international markets, to apply for financial assistance, apply for this fund. It provides financial support capped at 200,000 Rand per company and per intervention, and applications are currently open on the website. If you live in the city of Cape Town, check out the Smart Supplier Program, which supports entrepreneurs with skills and information to expand their businesses. You could visit the site also to search for small business finance options, apply for investment incentives, and enroll for a free myriad of free online courses via the Cape Town Entrepreneurship Academy. The City of Cape Town's Business Hub also provides practical solutions to simplify starting and developing your particular business. Further, so now we have to ask ourselves, when you leave him, you need a plan, because it's easy for me to stand here and tell you how to open a court case, how to apply for a protection order, where you can find a shelter in the program. But what do you do once he is gone? We don't just want to be free of the ANC.
Order.
We want economic freedom. Between the second quarter of 2022 and the second quarter of 2023, the Western Cape's official unemployment rate decreased by 6.6% to 20.9%. And over this term, the Western Cape economy created almost 2/3 of all jobs in South Africa. For those who think that the Western Cape have a higher inequality than South Africa, I will refer the members who do not read to page 87 of the payroll of 2023. The Gini coefficient in South Africa is 0.627. The Gini coefficient in the Western Cape is lower than the South African average. So the coefficient is 0.6. HDI in 2021, HDI is where they measure the Human Development Index. Is life getting better or is life getting worse? The South African average is 0.64. So if you want to know if life is getting better, the number must go up. The Western Cape average is 0.74. But Speaker, I also just want to deal with some mistruths that the opposition has brought up. 99.6% of learners in the Western Cape have been placed. Now, Deputy Speaker, when you have 0.4% that you're still dealing with, that is not a crisis. But we will ensure that every single learner gets placed. And so I will actually unpack the numbers for us quickly, because leaders are readers. Of the 529 that still needs to place, which constitutes 0.4%, 25 applied on time, 133 applied after the deadline before the end of 2023, and 371 extremely late since 1 January 2024. Of the 3,579 grade 1 and grade 8 applications received since the 1st of January 2024, 3,208 of these extremely late applications have already been placed. Further, I want to get to some of the pro-poor numbers that members of the opposition claim that the Western Cape simply does not have. We have 1.1 million learners in public ordinary schools across 1,451 public ordinary schools in the Western Cape. In 2022, 835,000 learners benefited from the Department of Education's no-fee policy. 510 6,000 learners benefited from the department's nutrition program. 65,000 learners benefited from the transport program. 21,000 learners were subsidized in registered independent schools, and 94,000 learners further benefited from fee exemption. To the honourable member of the ACDP, I just do want to say I am aware of Mr. Maria's concerns in base class. He has sent the respective information to myself, and we have forwarded to the WCD because we are committed to trying to
Please
find
finish
solutions.
off, honourable member.
Further, Deputy Speaker, as I would like to just conclude, deep down, the people of the Western Cape, you know exactly where you stand. Hope blurs the lines a bit, but we know, so choose someone who's going to show up for you.
Thank you.
When other people say it is not my problem, we will say not on our watch. I thank you.
Thank you very much, honourable member. Okay, thank you very much. I now call on Honourable Brincase, who I know is online. Honourable Brincase, there you are. Welcome. You may proceed.
Thank you very much.
1 minute, Honourable Brincase. I see there's a point of order from the Leader of the Opposition. Honourable Dugmore, what's your point of order?
Deputy Speaker, you will guide me in regard to the point of order that I want to raise. But is it procedural for this legislature that, given the importance of education, that the MEC for Education is not speaking in this debate at all?
I have no... So we don't have any power over the list of speakers. That is the prerogative of the Chief Whip. And you would have to ask... Honourable Dugmore, why don't you ask that to him over tea and lunch? Thank you. Honourable Brincase, you are there. Can we just check that you can hear you? You may proceed.
Thank you very much,
I can't hear you, Honourable Brincase. Can we just check that Honourable Brincase can be heard?
Thank you very much, Honourable.
No, I can't hear Honourable Brincase. Can I ask for assistance, please? Honourable Brincase, if you could just, I can see you're not on mute, so I'm not quite sure. If you just check your sound on your computer, please. If I can't get it organised, Honourable Brincase, I will move to the next speaker and give you the second opportunity. If I can ask...
Can you hear me now, Deputy Speaker?
I can hear you perfectly. You may proceed.
Thank you very much. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursaleen. Sayyidina wa nabiyyina wa maulana Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa ummati ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Molweni, good morning, goeiemorgen aan almal. Speciaal die mense van Pero. Firstly, allow me to once again express our Jama's condolences to the family of 12-year-old Firdaus Kleinsmith, Ighlasi Nia primary school learner who has been brutally killed in January on the school grounds by a stray bullet fired by gangsters. Just 3 months earlier, 15-year-old Zara Jackson was gunned down by another stray bullet in Hanover Park. This was while she was on an errand to a corner shop. Her family had the heartbreaking task of burying her on the same weekend she would have celebrated her 16th birthday. Sadly, the gang violence continues without an end in sight. Amidst paying tribute to the victims of these senseless killings, we too sadly reflect on the genocidal attacks by the Zionist Israeli regime of almost 30,000 Gazans in Palestine, of whom a vast majority were women and children. Al-Jama expresses its gratitude to the ruling party of national government, the ANC, and other parties who have fully supported the government's position and the case it presented at the International Court of Justice against Israeli genocide. Returning to our home front, we have seen no improvement in the challenges plaguing the province, which the Honourable Premier pointed out in 2019 and pledged to prioritize these key challenges are poverty, housing backlogs, unemployment, health and crime. The children from poor and working class communities in this province view the achievements of Tintualo as a far cry from what they have access to. Meanwhile, this DA Western Cape province is only focused on its plans on how to secede the province from the rest of South Africa. With a clandestine powers bill such as this on the cards, Al-Jamaa can only conclude that this is a cunning method of demonstrating that it can commit a soft coup. This so-called bill by the DA is unquestionably unconstitutional because it breaches Section 4, number 1 of the South African Constitution. Since it is such, it should not waste the taxpayers' monies to push it into law. This is unacceptable and going against the democracy we all fought for. We know that this DA powers bill will subtly introduce policies that are based on a divide and rule policy, a scheming Zionist tactic that the colonial powers and the former apartheid regime adopted and implemented. Our country's democratic policies should not be abused in interest of propping up further apartheid groups. Opening the Western Cape for Zionists who commit murder in Zionist Israel state and then seeking shelter in our region, we declare them as unwanted. Al-Jamaa says the Western Cape's police force, ports and harbour, public transport system, trade and international trade, and energy are not up for sale. We have always been suspecting a third force being behind efforts to destabilize democracy in South Africa. The recent letter, which exposes the alleged involvement of the DA sabotaging South Africa's electricity, comes as no surprise. The DA has made no bones about making calls to privatize the Koeberg nuclear power station. We wish to state that the DA is playing with fire and our lives are at risk because of the heinous plans that are coming to light in surreptitious ways. We call on the people in the Western Cape to reject this proposed bill, and our nation's government should dismiss any attempts by the province political leadership to dismember our beautiful country along geographical, racial, and ethnic lines. I thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honourable Broncase. I now recognise the Honourable Minister Simmers.
Thank you very much. Honourable Speaker, Deputy Speaker, Honourable Premier, and will be the Premier again after this year's election, I can tell you. Honourable fellow colleagues of the Cabinet, but also members of the Legislature, honourable guests,
Honourable
and members
Minister,
of the media.
my apologies for the interruption. There is a point of order.
Can the Honourable Leader of the DA
Over to you, Honourable Simmers.
Unfortunately, I only talk to leaders, sorry. Honourable members, this morning we have heard the official opposition harboring doubts about the Western Cape being a place where all things are possible, questioning our position as a beacon of hope. But now they've gone to a new low in the 5 years that I've been a member of Cabinet. They have been casting aspersions upon myself, my colleague, Minister Bredel, but now they've even cast aspersions of other members in other spheres of government. Maar ons kan niks meer of minder van 'n verrottende ANC in die Weskaap verwag nie. Want, agbare ondervoorsitter, miskryers was nog nooit bekend vir iets anders as aandraers van absolute strooi nie. En dit is wat die ANC in die Weskaap en die ANC op 'n nasionale vlak is, 'n klomp miskryers. But Honourable Deputy Speaker, in this province, we continue to ensure that under this DA-led government, that we are a beacon of hope, that we keep the principles and values of democracy intact, but that we ensure that our citizens never lose hope to the quality of lives that they aspire to. In this province, through our transport infrastructure branch, we have changed impossible to saying it is possible. Of the long weekend in June of the 16th last year, this province was hit by severe floods that wreaked havoc across many parts of our province. The town of Citrusdal and its community was cut off from the rest of the province. Sections of the main road that connects Citrusdal with the N7 were destroyed when the Olifant River overflowed its banks. But yet, this is a province that gives hope. We make the impossible possible. And within 10 days, we ensured, with the partnership of the district municipality, that an entire community was reconnected. We get things done. Ons kry die dinge gedoen. But this is not possible in the other 8 provinces where the ANC are in government, because in KZN, after 2 years, people are still waiting for flood damages to be repaired. Hulle moet eintlik baie dood skaam as 'n regerende party in ander provinsies. But Speaker, you'd be forgiven if you thought that this was a mission impossible for me and my department, because within 3 months after the first flood, we had a sequel in this province. But this time around, the scale of devastation was something which climatologists termed a once-in-a-100-year occurrence. At its peak during that cycle of that storm, over 155 provincial roads in our network was closed due to various stages of infrastructure damage. Maar weer eens, ons kry dinge gedoen, because there were massive concerns over the upcoming festive season and the tourism season, and how we as a provincial department and government would repair this, timelessly noting this what looms ahead of us. But once again, it's possible in the Western Cape, because within 14 days, many of the road networks, more than 80% of the 155, were opened, partially opened, and reconnecting our communities. Within 14 days, we literally rebuilt the bridge at McGregor and the Doring Rivier to ensure that the communities have access, but above all, that those communities are also reconnected with the rest of the Western Cape. And when the festive season finally did occur, Honourable Chairperson, majority of all economic and scenery routes were open. They were functional. And as the Premier stated last night, we had a record tourism season in the Western Cape, and the bulk of those roads contributed to that success. Ons praat hier in die Wes-Kaapie, agbare voorsitter, ons kry dinge gedoen. But not too far from where we are this morning. The upgrading of the main road between the N1 and the Klipbrug Road is well on track to be completed on time and within budget. Iets wat die ANC ook in hulle 8 provinsies tot vandag toe kan sê nie. This is a 200 million rand infrastructure investment, and already we are targeting to create opportunities for 14 local SMMEs in the Drakenstein area, and we seek to create 200 work opportunities. This is a government that creates opportunities. But this is a provincial government that ensures our citizens' dreams are kept alive. We ensure that citizens' dreams are kept alive through various interventions of empowerment, not bean counting that the ANC and the cohorts are aspiring to real empowerment of citizens. One such intervention aimed at mitigating the scourge of unemployment is the Skills Development Training Program, through which we focus on plumbing apprenticeships. Lindelwa Mhlabiso from Khayelitsha was unemployed when she started with a fully funded plumbing apprenticeship, which my department offers. She completed her training and she is now permanently employed as a maintenance planner by Transnet. This is something that this provincial government made possible. We also have the Contractor Development Program, which aims to develop skills and promote business sustainability for emerging contractors in the construction industry. One such example is Regina Williams from Worcester. She owns a company Premier called Safari Flooring. And this is a woman entering a male-dominated space. And she took it upon herself to empower her, but also to provide job opportunities for other women through her company. When she started through this program with us, she qualified for the structured training program. Again, because we provide opportunities as a province, she went on to the advanced training program, which targets those with the CIDB grading from level 3 to 5. And as we speak here today, Honourable Premier and members, Ms. Williams' company has gone from a CIDB level 4 to a CIDB level 6. And again, she's empowering more women in the Worcester area. That is true economic emancipation. That is true empowerment, made possible through DA policy intervention. Ons praat nie, agbare lede, ons kry dinge gedoen. But dreams and hopes are certainly kept alive in this province. But I cannot go amiss without reflecting on what I started my term off in 2019. I was the Provincial Minister of Human Settlements. In 2019, I made significant policy amendments in the categorization of beneficiaries. We said we need to focus on the groupings which are not being afforded a housing opportunity. Persons with disability, backyards, which is a massive problem in various municipalities in the Western Cape, but also something which the ANC blatantly lies about in this house. We do provide housing opportunities for farmers and farm workers because they are a priority in this province. Hou op, ons mense mislei. But if you want to see the DA intervention in action, Honourable Premier and members, the Premier and I visited Vlakland yesterday morning.
Honourable Minister, if you could just step aside. I see Honourable Class as a point of order. Honourable Class.
What I want to ask her that he can allow me to raise a question, because one thing I want to hear about the
Honourable Class, is it a point of order or you want to ask the Minister a question?
Yes, I want to ask Minister a question.
Okay, Honourable Minister Simmers, you may answer or proceed.
We can talk over the Honourable Deputy Speaker.
Okay, no question, Honourable
much.
Class. Thank you.
And why I'd say this, and I'll make practical examples, Honourable Deputy Speaker and members.
Order.
The Premier, with our Mayor Conrad Poole and his Maiko, we visited Mr. and Mrs. Dreyer. Both are 81 years old, who lived their entire lives on a farm. And last year they got a house, and they're owners of that house for the first time. But above all, they also have a house with a solar geyser. They've never experienced warm water before in their lifetimes. That is DA governance in action. Ons praat nie, ons kry dinge gedoen. Iets wat die ANC nie van kan praat nie. But to further make another example, Mr. and Mrs. Malgas, they have a disabled child. Again, they lived in a backyard for over 26 years. This provincial government, through each policy interventions, has ensured that that child has a decent home to live in and that parents can care for her, so all our other departments also play a key role. But Honourable Deputy Speaker and members, what really stunned me last week, when the National Minister Kubai mentioned that her department is working on a policy proposal for rent-to-own scheme. And I nearly fell off my chair laughing. For the last 2 years, we have been piloting this program in Cape Agulhas successfully. And Honourable Premier, in the new financial year, we are about to launch 2 further project sites in the rest of the Cape. Perhaps the National Minister needs to ask this province to actually write that policy for her as well into the future. But our human settlements, Honourable members, does not come with many challenges. Internally and externally, I need to acknowledge that because some of you touched on it. But I'll focus on 3 core elements of those challenges. Last year in March, we all applauded the National Minister for increasing the national subsidy at the end of March. But guess what? We had to wait 5 months, Honourable Premier and members, just to get the basic guidelines for implementation. And if you understand the infrastructure space, you cannot wait 5 months for clarity on how to implement these adjustments in terms of the subsidy. So that set back a number of projects. And yes, but linked to that, we have also seen underspending because of the impact of that. But there are 4 things which have been with us since 2019, but it's gone worse. We have seen the construction mafia and extortion throughout various of our projects. We actually bring many projects to a standstill. And one such project is in Guguletu. It's a 244 million rand project, Premier, that has stood still for 2 years. a 244 million rand project. Maar hulle wil kom skanders maak hier oor geld ons glo terug hier, maar hulle sê nie die redes hoekom die projekte nie kan gebeur nie, want dit is in ANC wyke en die ANC weet wie die mense is wat nie toelaat dat ons projekte kan aangaan nie. We have also seen illegal land invasions on land earmarked for housing development. Ironically, Honourable Deputy Speaker, it is in ANC wards where these parcels of lands are being invaded.
Order, members, please. Can I have order? Thank you. No running commentaries, please. You may proceed, Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. But we've also seen violent community protests, as my colleague Regan Allen touched on, where we saw non-qualifiers being encouraged by the EFF and the ANC in Mossel Bay in an informal settlement upgrading program, incur 10 million rands worth of damage to a program that was earmarked for informal settlement upgrading in Mossel Bay. Know your EFF, know your ANC in this province. But as we face these challenges as human settlements, Honourable Premier and the House, we also keep and aspire to keep the lights on and to keep the hope alive. Which is why through our own funding, we have, since last year March, Honourable Premier, installed over 295 solar geysers in our projects, targeting indigent households, but above all the elderly and persons with disability.
Honourable Minister, if you could just stand aside, please. There's a point of order. Honourable Marais, what's your point of order?
Speaker, it's untenable that the ANC is allowed to misbehave and to not listen to your rulings. This continuous shouting and interjection demeans this House. It must be stopped or they must get out.
Honourable Marais, thank you very much. Can I just ask that the members on my left, the constant running commentary, if we can hold on to that, Honourable Nkondlo, please, I'm speaking. We are almost at the end. I think everyone's waiting for that much-needed lunch. So may I just ask for your indulgence for a short while? Minister, you may proceed.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Honourable Deputy Speaker, in October last year, we launched the Wheeling Toolkit as a department to support our municipalities in fast-tracking the implementation of third-party electricity wheeling. Ons kan nie meer presies kom en vir die ANC wat sterf wag nie. At the same event, we ensure that we appoint an advisory or transactional advisor for Stellenbosch municipality because they are busy with an independent power producer procurement project. Again, the lessons we learned from this, we want to expand to other municipalities. But where are we with this? We're now at phase 2, which means the feasibility studies are well underway.
Minister, please finish off.
And we will ensure that we learn those lessons. And as I conclude, Honourable Deputy Speaker, the Western Cape under the DA government daily creates an opportunity and environment for our citizens working towards their dreams to become a reality, to ensure that it does become a reality. And this year, it's an election year. And we do know it will see the ANC declining further because the majority of people will once again make their mark behind the DA like it did in 2009, like it did in 2014,
Thank you, Minister.
like it did in 2019. Hierdie jaar maak ons die ANC vanaand dood. Die kus is klaar bestel. Baie dankie.
Thank you very much, honourable members. I now call on the honourable Lacker. Honourable Lacker, over to you. Please may I just ask that the guests please refrain from participating in the debate. Over to you, Honourable Lacker.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Honourable members, members of the public present here today, people of the Western Cape. This must have been the worst state of the province address we have heard from the DA-run administration in the Western Cape. It is the worst because it sums up the desperation of the Democratic Alliance in trying to convince our people that this province is better and one that it was 5 years ago. Today, inequality is higher than it was 5 years ago. According to Warren Smith, an associate professor at the African Center for Cities at the University of Cape Town, and I quote, unemployment in Cape Town has been increasing from 18.3% in 2011 to 29% in 2021. Closed quotes. If one were to look at his provincial government's own socio-economic profile for 2021, you would read that, and I open quote, income inequality in the Cape Metro gradually worsened from 2014 by 0.608 to 2020 by 0.626. Income inequality has worsened across all districts in the Western Cape over this period, close quote. While the Premier has the audacity to stand up and brag about the amount of jobs that were created, Western Cape contributes to the total number of jobs created in the country. He spits in the faces of the 156,000 people who are unemployed today, but who were employed when he started his term as the Premier. Today, more people are unemployed in the Western Cape than when the Premier took office in 2019, and that's the fact. And while the Premier may be quick to blame COVID-19, let us remind him that he introduced the Western Cape Recovery Plan in March 2021. 3 years later, this plan has been in utter failure because we are nowhere near the levels of employment that we saw in the pre-pandemic days. In 2019, in his maiden speech as Premier, the Premier promised the people of the Western Cape an average growth rate of 2.5%. Instead, we got an average of 1.2% growth. Well, we would have thought by now that he understands how economies work and that they are a subject to conditions in the global market. But Premier stands up and promises people of this province again a 2 to 4% growth rate that we have no idea where he will get it from. It is like he sucks all these plans out of his thumb. For one that is supposedly big on data, the Premier's head remains in the cloud without any idea of reality. May I also say that the Premier quoted the third quarter of 2023, and he deliberately did not quote the fourth quarter of the Labour Force Survey, which says the Western Cape lost 23 jobs, and that unemployment decreased in Limpopo, Mpumalanga, and Free State, because you wanted to know about other provinces. There it is. Speaker, the Premier defended his administration's push on the unconstitutional Provincial Powers Bill. We are made to believe that the DA in this Premier believes in the rule of law, and yet they know that this bill will go nowhere. It is a bill that is simply trying to outdo the Freedom Front Plus in their push for racism, apartheid, and an independent Western Cape. With the powers that they already had, this provincial government has failed fundamentally to deliver. And like they did in the infrastructure and human settlement, they wish to move the chairs around on the deck because of clear lack of service delivery. The people of the Western Cape only had to read in the Cape Times yesterday to witness the complete failure that the Provincial Department of Human Settlement and Infrastructure is. Well, we're not surprised because DA councillors are amongst the cabal of extortionists in the Cape Flats. 5 years later, only 23, listened carefully, 23 houses have been built instead of the 570 initially planned. But it is only the people of Kukuletu which this provincial government has scant regard for. In education, the Premier boasts about building schools and classrooms. What are the conditions of these classrooms and schools? Are they shack classrooms which cannot withstand the bullets and the weather? In his response, the Premier must tell us of the 25 schools built in the last 2 years since 2022, when the Rapid School Build program was launched. It is built of brick and mortar and not the shacks that we have been putting. The Premier wants more provincial powers, but his health department is yet to replace G.F. Joster 10 years after the disposal of the hospital. In 2014, Tiens Botha, the MEC for Health and who has subsequently left the DA in a puff promise that the hospital will be opened in 2019 bigger and better. 10 years later, the communities of Klipfontein Corridor continued to suffer from not having a hospital nearby. But again, it is only the poor people of the Klipfontein Corridor that must suffer. Let us remind the Premier that the provincial constitution does give him the power to appoint the environmental commissioner, but he refuses to. The Premier laments the climate crisis which the province faces annually, but declines to appoint an environmental commissioner, which would give the necessary oversight and assistance in mitigating issues of climate change. Deputy Speaker, the ANC is pleased to hear that the provincial government worked with Eskom to attend to the crisis in the Central Karoo. Because of the time, they are working against Eskom, against SAPS, against PRASA in attending to the challenges in our province. The provincial governments working with Eskom is what the constitution of our country requires it. It is called cooperative governance, in case you forgot. One is also pleased to hear that the Premier has a newfound concern for sewage, even though it is in his hometown in Knysna. Maybe it is because it is his hometown and not anywhere where he wishes to pay attention. The people of Milnerton, Sea Point, and Fisherfolk in False Bay have been complaining for years about the sewage, raw sewage running into their lagoon and the sea. Just 4 days ago, Ground Up again reported that, and I quote, most of Cape Town's sewage treatment works are failing, including the city's largest one, which releases effluent straight into the sea. It is not only in Knysna that refuse and garbage is not collected. Right under his nose in the city of Cape Town, if he cares to visit the communities of Philippi, he would have seen the refuse and garbage has not been collected for months. A forensic investigation recently leaked to the media, probably by DA faction, who opposes Grant Twig, revealed the total collapse of waste collection services in our communities. The city subsequently received nearly 19,000 complaints, of which 38% were from the areas being serviced by external service providers. One hopes that the provincial government will promise to pay attention to the city of Cape Town as much as they are paying attention to Knysna. In fact, the Premier must tell us in his response when will he action to be taken against the city of Cape Town for its pumping millions of liters of sewage into the sea and its collapse of the waste removal. Speaker, allow me again today to say that in the fight against GBV, the Premier must not mislead the House. The provincial government's funding GBV is not enough, and the number of GBV shelters have increased because the national government donated buildings to the province to use as shelters for victims of GBV. You must give credit where it is due, Premier. Your government continues to fail the victims of GBV. Farrell Payne, who continues to be working while the victims are at home, while your government shields pain from accountability. If your government cares, why is it not making an investment to deploy staff to victim-friendly rooms like we did as the ANC when we were in government? And before I sit down, the Democratic Alliance must stop shielding the perpetrators of violence. Today, the former minister, Albert Fritz, is sitting at home because you shielded him for far too long, up until your staff members, who are predominantly your favorite, who are white, came out. These matters were never attended to. When a colored person complained about being victimized by Farrell Payne, you keep numb and you'd hide behind the unions. This must come to an end.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. I now recognise the Honourable Minister Mayor.
give us your legal opinion about the powers bill. Could you see it? Sure.
Honourable Speaker, Honourable Deputy Speaker, Honourable Premier and members of the Cabinet, Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition, leaders of other political parties, Honourable members of the Western Cape Legislature, mayors, deputy mayors, speakers, councillors, members of the community and citizens of the Western Cape. Yesterday, the Premier of the Western Cape delivered his State of the Province address. And as he delivered his State of the Province address, it became very clear, very evident that the future of this province is in our hands. It is in the hands of a clean Premier because we promote clean governance. According to the legend, the Roman Emperor Nero set fire to his majestical imperial capital. On the night of July 19 AD 64 and fiddled while the city was burning. This resulted in a popular saying, "It is fiddling while Rome burns," meaning that a person or an organization is dealing with a difficult or a dangerous situation, but instead of doing it and dealing with it, is busy with doing useless things or pretending that nothing is wrong. Honourable Deputy Speaker, doing useless things or pretending that nothing is wrong sums up what the current ANC government is doing in South Africa and what President Cyril Ramaphosa himself referred to as the 9 wasted years leading up to his presidency for the last 5 years. Little did we know at the time that the next 5 years were going to be disastrous under his leadership, as so often depicted by the rather surprised look on the face of the president whenever he is confronted with the realities of his term. Hy is altyd verbaas, hy is altyd geskok, hy skrik altyd vir goed wat daagliks voor hom gebeur. And this we have seen during COVID-19, daar in die Oos-Kaap, toe koop hulle belaglike motorfietsse, scooters as ambulances tydens COVID-19. This scooter ambulances that were bought in the Eastern Cape is scandalous. They bought it during COVID-19 and the image of him looking at the pothole. You saw that live on television. Die president was geskok toe hy 'n pothole sien. Hy sê, "Wat is dit?" Hy kon amper vir hom gebad het in daai pothole. The ANC has effectively paralyzed the public management architecture and good governance in South Africa. That's why we need to rescue South Africa. Honourable Deputy Speaker, there is hope because unlike the rest of South Africa, governance in the Western Cape is working. As my colleague, the Honourable Minister Wengner said, and I quote, she said, the Western Cape is working. Honourable Deputy Speaker, when Premier Alan Winde delivered his SOPA address yesterday, he outlined the achievements of the Western Cape DA government and the hope of the Democratic Alliance. This is what we have to offer. The future of this province. After he spoke, I couldn't resist to think that the province is in our hands. It is in clean hands, ethical, moral. We undertook a lifestyle audit. The president, again, when we ask him, where is the national lifestyle audit of his cabinet, dan is hy weer geskok. Honourable Speaker, 5 years ago, following his SONA address, the President Ramaphosa expressed He is shocked and news that South Africa was experiencing stage 4 load shedding, fase 4 beurtkrag, toe die president 5 jaar gelede, toe sy weer geskop.
Order, members in the front. You may proceed, Minister. You may proceed.
Ah, sorry. Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. He said 5 years ago, and I quote, "It is most worrying. It is most disturbing. It has shocked me and also made me quite angry that we have reached this level of dysfunctionality." That's the President speaking 5 years ago. Last week, when I listened to the 2024 sonar debate, it was I that was shocked, surprised and angry to hear the Deputy Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, Sylvia Lucas, toe sy sê beurtkrag is nie die einde van die wêreld nie, maar soos die agbare minister van polisie oorsig Regan Allen verduidelik het, dit is pynlik, hartseer en dodelik vir mense. Haar arrogansie maak ons meer gedetermineerd om Suid-Afrika te red. Honourable Deputy Speaker, at the core of the load shedding crisis is the deliberate, intentional, purposeful breakdown of the governance as highlighted by the Chief Justice, Honourable Justice Zondo, in his state capture report. But it is also being amplified by the Auditor General of South Africa, and she said in the report many things that is going wrong under the ANC. But she also spoke of what is happening right here in the Western Cape, and this is what she said. In the Western Cape, where the future is in our hands, the Auditor General said, and I quote, "We attribute the consistent achievement of clean audit outcomes to the provincial government setting the right tone of good governance and to the accounting officers sitting there at the back and our authorities driving a culture of accountability and striving to continuously improve the control environment." Honourable Deputy Speaker, when I listened to the Premier yesterday, I made detailed notes because I saw a man that is leading a government with values. Last week when I listened to the President, I saw a man that's leading with cadres. And there's a difference when you lead with cadres and cadre deployment. And so what are the values that this government is leading with? We are leading with the values of caring. This is the most caring government. That's why the Premier outlined yesterday the energy packs, because we deeply care for people. That's why the Minister of Infrastructure went to a project yesterday, caring for people. That's why Minister Regan Allen, caring for people. That's why the small, medium enterprises development that the Minister Wengner spoke about, caring. That's why in 65 days we built schools. That's why David Mania is caring. Minister Bredel spent day and night to go to the Karoo, a caring government. Minister Noma Friends in Bombo, day and night, caring for our healthcare workers. That's a caring government. And the energy packs is just one simple example. But there's one most uncaring minister in South Africa, and that is Lindiwe Zulu. Ask Minister Sana Fernandez every time when she say we should be a caring government, let's help the people. The Minister Lindiwe Zulu does not care. The second value is competence, getting the right skills, getting the right competence. They broke deliberately Eskom, Transnet, the harbors, and we now have the minutes of the cadre deployment committee. We're going to expose people that have been put in the state-owned enterprises. And I'm going to guarantee you, all the government officials, we are now looking after your interests. because we are going to watch whether your pension fund, the government employment pension fund, whether the ANC has put anybody deployed into your pension fund board, because we are here to protect your pension fund, because we are simply a government that is caring. But we have the minutes, and we know who was the chairperson of the Cadre Deployment Committee, the current president. He will be exposed very, very soon. And so competence is why this future of this province is in our hands. Excellent capabilities. We had no clean audits when we came into government 15 years ago. In no short time, 13 clean audits. Capable, competent. Well, another value is innovation. Well, we've seen the innovation also during COVID-19. Building a field hospital in 6 weeks. The minister at the time, Dr. McKeeser, said, this is mind-boggling. How do you do it? We say, appoint capable and competent people. Thank you, Minister, no more friends, because you set a standard. Innovation, capability. Well, we have seen a lot of innovation in education, healthcare, community safety, and also more recently in mobility. Well, the next value, very important for this government, is integrity. Integrity is speaking the truth. Well, talk about the truth. The ANC for many years said Zuma built a fire pool at Nkandla. And now suddenly, Fikile Mbalula said the ANC were lying in Parliament. It was not a fire pool. It was something else. Talk about integrity. And so Fikile Mbalula is now silenced. Every time he can no longer talk after a National Executive Committee. They sent now Nomvula Mokenyana. She is now the spokesperson because they said, Fikile, bly stil, jy praat te veel die waarheid. Well, there's another national minister. She was caught out, Honorable Deputy Speaker. They asked her, did you and your boyfriend go to Switzerland? She said, no, I didn't go to Switzerland. I was in Zurich. Zurich is the capital of Switzerland. Talk about integrity. Well, we know what the president did. The president, he was sleeping on $4 million. Talk about integrity. Honorable Deputy Speaker, under the leadership of this Premier, we developed a new architecture called Build a Government that the people can trust. The next value is accountability. Yesterday, the Premier
Thank you, Minister. Your time is up. If you can finish your last sentence. If you can finish your last sentence.
Deputy Speaker, thank you for this opportunity. I think what we now know is that the new government is coming in the union buildings. We are ready to rescue South Africa, and the Premier is leading the rescue campaign.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister.
Thank you.
Thank you. I now recognise, last but not least, the Honourable Minister Mackenzie.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Dagmo, can I proceed? Thank you.
Order. You may proceed, Honourable Minister.
Honourable Speaker, Deputy Speaker, Honourable Speaker sitting here, Honourable Premier, members of the Western Cape Cabinet, my colleagues, the people of PAL, Honourable Leader of the Opposition, and members of the Western Cape Legislature, thank you for being here this afternoon. Can I first say regarding the crash in the Dorans this morning, unlike the members of the opposition who are chasing ambulances and media attention instead of attending this debate, the DA government has done the hard work of developing traffic and emergency services that save lives. I'm thankful that there were no fatalities in the crash this morning, and I wish those who were injured a speedy recovery. Speaker, the coat of arms for the province of the Western Cape was approved and enacted by this provincial parliament in 1998. The official motto is Pes Bona, meaning good hope, particularly fitting for a province that boasts the Cape of Good Hope. But the motto is not only about geography. The motto is about the people that we serve, because we never forget about them. Everything we do in the Western Cape is about giving people hope. The DA-run Western Cape government builds hope and delivers real progress for this province. Honourable members, just whilst we were sitting here yesterday, debating the Western Cape State of a Province address by our Premier Alan Winde, in Gauteng they were throwing water bottles, insulting one another, causing havoc during the State of the Province address led by Amapanyaza. This is not what a province of hope does. And I want to thank members of this House for showing fairly good behavior today, because that's the difference between where the DA govern and where the ANC government. As we are building a province of hope, they are busy destroying. But I must say, while listening to honourable members speak, it feels like listening to a broken record. They're repeating the same tired points without offering any real solution. We have not seen any solution or a hint of solution coming from members of the ANC benches over the last 5 years. I must say 10 years, because I've been a member, just empty suits. It is clear that the election strategies are spreading lies and misinformation, resorting to fear-mongering tactics. Honourable members, as in life itself, our progress continually face devastating obstacles, like the in-year budget cuts caused by the ANC national government or the complete power outage this month in the Karoo. But we continue to push forward in the Western Cape to enable job safety and well-being and dignity for all. As the Minister of Mobility, we are moving forward is both practical and symbolic, but let me know, Mr. Deputy Speaker, it is because we are moving forward and making progress that the people of the Western Cape have this hope. Honourable Deputy Speaker, just yesterday, Premier Winde mentioned about our DA-run government call centre, which boasted a 96% resolution rate with over 1 million tickets received. I challenge any member of this House, of the ANC, by just contacting Home Affairs. Just as the smell of the cow's wings lingers of the collapsed ANC port run in Cape Town, so will the ANC receive poor service delivery from Home Affairs. As Mr. Danko said, dis 'n feit soos 'n koei. En die stank wat die bote in ons hawe toegelaat het, was deur die ANC hawelose Transnet ingebring. Die Kaap stink, van die ANC die Kaap laat stink. The ANC corruptocrats just know how to be incompetent. Honourable members, several ANC MPLs spoke this morning. In fact, Honourable Lekker, at 16 minutes, she only spoke for 10.26. That's the lack of content they had in 5 years. Yet not one member of the ANC or the allies addressed the issues of guns stolen in Mitchell's Plain and in our communities.
Order, members. Honourable members, if you could just take your seat. Honourable Lekker, what's your point of order? Honourable members, I'm not going to let the Honourable Lekker speak until her own members have kept quiet and give her the floor.
Deputy Speaker.
Over to you, Honourable Lekker.
Aibo, Wendy.
You may proceed.
Deputy Speaker, I would like to raise a concern.
Honourable Lekker, is your mic on?
It is.
Okay.
I would like to raise a concern because right now, Honourable MEC has cast an aspersion that I did not utilize all my time. I think that is unbecoming of him, and at least I have not been sent into a rehabilitation center in my 10 years here.
Okay. Honourable Member, I'm not so sure, and as I say again, the Honourable Minister, I am going to...
The lack of content from Honourable Lekker is well noted.
Mackenzie, 16 minutes. Minister, give me a second. I'm not sure if anybody can hear me. 1 minute. Honourable members, can I just finish this point that's been read? Honourable members, I know you're probably all waiting for lunch. Can we afford the Honourable Minister the space? Honourable members, Honourable Kondlo, please. I'm just trying to finish. Honourable Minister Mackenzie, if I can just ask that you please heed Rule 59. Thank you very much. You may proceed.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Not one member of the ANC spoke about the issues, for example, guns stolen in Mitchell's Plain. They had an hour to deal with the issues affecting people of the Western Cape. As the DA, we have condemned and marched against such act. But the ANC has been quiet on issues affecting the people in the Western Cape. Their silence is deplorable, but not surprisingly, seeing that the ANC parties with gangsters. However, Member Dagmo weaved the Khoisan into his speech as an afterthought. Yet outside the union buildings, where we were last Saturday, the Khoisan has been waiting for years now. They literally live on the lawns of the union buildings. If Member Dagmo really cared about the Khoisan community, He would have moved all those corrupt ANC members out of their homes in Brighterian estate and moved the Khoisan family members into their homes. They will add more value to the life than the corruptocrats in national parliaments. Honourable Member Barnes, facts are a stubborn thing. Bad governance has consequences. Let's take ANC Knysna, ANC Theewaterskloof, ANC Beaufort West, and several municipalities where the ANC government, they will wish they had a DA good governance. I can tell you about PRASA, Transnet, Crime Intelligence, SAA, ESCOM, and many other SOEs that has collapsed due to bad governance. So, Honourable Barnes, good governance is good for our country. Honourable Barnes, the reason we spent R1 billion on a safety plan is because of the ANC failures. We wouldn't need to spend R1 billion if South African police services were functioning. So yes, we do want devolution. Yes, we are getting rid of people for not complying with the rules of their employment. And yes, we will not lower our standard on employment standards in the Western Cape or the city of Cape Town. Honourable Member Lekker, facts indeed is a stubborn thing. So let's take out our cell phones and Google the unemployed stats as released just an hour ago by Statistics South Africa. The Western Cape, again, is the lowest unemployment in the country. It's a statistical fact. And let's deal with the economy.
Order.
We deal with the economy because you raise issues about global economies. But let me put this into context. If a boat can't port at our ports, if the train can't take the goods to market, the entrepreneur Premier Ellen Windy spoke about, then you can't create jobs. So when you have a failing Transnet, a failing PRASA, a failing Protnet, a failing SAA, that is the reality. That contributes to job losses in South Africa. So if we fix that, we can help.
Order.
The reason we fixed the center line because the ANC wanted, and I say it again, wanted to come and dump people there. You cannot put people where there's no train lines, no toilets, no police station. That's what the ANC do in other provinces. But in the Western Cape, we will not allow that to happen. You need a master plan to ensure people have proper public transport.
Speaker.
They did not back the center line. The line is not running.
Order, members. I have a point of order. If you can just take your seat, Minister. Over to you, Honourable Member.
Speaker, all members here has a right to hear what the Speaker says. We cannot allow the ANC to disrupt this session. I ask that you consider sending this member, Wimpy, out of this house so that we can exercise our right to listen to the Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Vimby. You are doing a running commentary, having a direct conversation with the Minister. Can I ask for the last 8.5 minutes that we allow the Minister to complete his speech as everyone else has been afforded the platform? Over to you. Honourable Vimby, even if you think so, you can't do the running commentary. May I ask for your indulgence, please? Thank you. Over to you, Minister.
Thank you very much. So, Honourable Deputy Speaker, yes, the central line, there are 1 million people living on the line. So if you talk about job losses, Honourable Members, the direct result of the collapse of rail. If the ANC national government was serious, they would have fixed the line or give it to people like ourselves that can get things done. That is the solution. Honourable Speaker, the Western Cape government, Honourable Dugmore, love the taxi industry. We are moving forward with assisting the minibus taxi industry. In fact, we all know that the industry is sadly plagued by violence, criminality, and unsafe operation. It is completely unacceptable, Honourable Dugmore, that commuters must live in fear of being in the wrong place at the wrong time while needing to get to work and get to school. The Western Cape government stepped up and took action, piloting our groundbreaking Blue Dot and Red Dot pilot project, a rapid intervention to normalize and improve the minibus taxi industry. But as always, Member Dugmore, where we're sitting now, there is no money. The policies of the national government has collapsed our fiscal. That is the reality. So because of the lack of money from national government, we cannot invent money. That is the reality. And you know it, Member Dugmore. You're highly intelligent enough to know it. Honourable Member Dugmore, as the Minister of Mobility, we are moving forward with both practical and symbolic solution. Let it be known, Honourable Deputy Speaker, because we are moving forward and making progress, the people of the Western Cape have hope.
Minister, my apologies. There's a point of order. Honourable Kama, what's your point of order?
No, thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, I was going to say that to avoid the interactions, I think you need to advise the provincial minister not to address the members. But
Thank you. It helps a lot when the Minister directly speaks to me. Thank you very much. Over to you, Honourable Mackenzie.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. I will address the Honourable Members via you, Deputy Speaker. Honourable Deputy Speaker, for the first time in South Africa, passengers and other road users were empowered to raise the quality of services via cell phone. That is the innovative from the Western Cape government, and will continue to do so. But we're asking our members on the left-hand side to ask the corrupto-corrupts in Pretoria to stop stealing money so we can use the money to further help people of the Western Cape. Honourable members, I'd be failing in my duty if I not address the glaring lack of prosecutions in the minibus taxi industry of hundreds of murders that occurred. The families of the victims deserve justice, yet we are met from deafening silence, doodstilte from the ANC members. There's a conspicuous silence from them regarding the victims of taxi violence. The DA has been the only one who consistently spoke about the violence plaguing the taxi industry. Honourable Deputy Speaker, the nature of hope is about the future, and the future must be green. The Western Cape is the first province in the country to publish an electric vehicle strategy, and of course the honourable members of the left-hand side didn't say a thing about it, because in their provinces they don't even have one. In fact, when they came to visit us last year, we offered them for free, and they intimated, well, it's probably going to cost them 40 million. And I said, no, we've got it. We'll give it you for free. But we know the corrupt clubs wanted to steal money. Honourable members, I was in George last week, and as usual, I checked in with our beautiful Go George bus service. Juxtaposed there to my trip to Johannesburg over the weekend. In Johannesburg, Baya and all the other bus services are not running. In fact, from the 50 billion rand spent in Rustenburg, daar is niks oor nie. Nie eens 'n busstasie. Die bome groei uit Johannesburg se busstasies. In George, our Temba-led bus service provide an excellent service to tens of thousands of people in that community. It's so much so that the service is oversubscribed. That is the DA-led government. I was struck by the operational excellence that we deliver as the DA-led government. As we addressed critical issues here in the Western Cape today and several times in the last few weeks, it's imperative to highlight the plight of the NAFSA students who are once again left in the lurch by the ANC government. Their accommodation remains unpaid, and they are waiting left for letters to arrive. This is another example of ANC bad governance. Where's the ANC national or education spokesperson on these matters? Their silence are deafening. Children are sleeping at police stations in Pero, and they're forced to sleep at the entrances of hospitals in Bellville. Where's the ANC on this topic? Why are they not speaking to the national counterparts on this topic? It is disgraceful, honourable members. Honourable Deputy Speaker, coming back to the currency of hope, just last Thursday, alongside the Premier of the Western Cape, we officially launched the Getting You to Work, a travel voucher offering job seekers 12 free trips using Golden Arrow bus services. We joined the very first job seekers to make use of the service as they attended an interview in Athlone. Getting You to Work, honourable members, is not just a random shot in the dark, but a strategic intervention based on research in the challenges job seekers face. One of the biggest hurdles is the cost of transport. Because of the collapse of rail by the ANC government, they are forced to use alternative measures. And we've now given them the cost of transport nearly 280 rand a month. As the DA in the Western Cape, we cut that cost down to zero. That is innovation and good governance. Honourable members, our traffic management team consistently to do good work in the Western Cape. However, during the recent visit by the RTMC, none other led by Minister Chikunga, they provided input and advice on accident hotspot. Honourable members, I want you to take out your phone and just Google this. They embarrassingly said the accident hotspots in the Western Cape is Francie van Zyl and Woodstock Main Road. Now, everyone in Cape Town knows Francie van Zyl and Woodstock Main Road cannot be an accident hotspot. It turned out that is where our hospitals are based. Tygerberg Hospital is in Grootskriel. Minister Chikunga, led by a team of 10 people, got it so horribly wrong. They used data from our hospitals and not from our crash pod. I was embarrassed in that meeting. So we will not take advice from ANC-led governments. Honourable member, every life saved by our interventions is a check and chance for the restoration of hope, because in the Western Cape, we keep moving forward. The people of the Western Cape have hope. Honourable member, if I can speak by you, Deputy Honourable Speaker, to Honourable Kasim. Honourable Kasim clearly lives on another planet. Honorable Kasim, we want these powers. We want rail to work. We want police to work. We want crime intelligence to work. We want the ports to work. So we do want those powers because we want devolution, and we're not going to stop until we get those powers. In fact, Honorable Kasim, when last did you visit Ekurhuleni? The below mediocrity EFF cannot even govern that municipality. In fact, to call them mediocrity, it will be an insult for those who bother to wake up in the morning. Honorable members, Ekurhuleni is in a financial meltdown. So I suggest the honorable members in EFF visit Ekurhuleni before they come to the Ethiopia called the Western Cape. In fact, the EFF MMC Dunga there is called the godfather of corruption. So we will not repeat, accept any advice from godfathers of corruption. Honorable members, one of the most devastating...
Honorable Minister, please take your seat. Honorable Sayed. Order members. Order members.
No, Dunga.
Now we have gone even worse. He's got double standards. These are the double standards. He's now asking us questions on a councillor who's not in this house to defend himself. He must please steer clear with that and bring proof about that particular councillor. Thank you.
Honourable Minister Mackenzie, I have kept a steady, consistent view, so please bring a substantive motion if you need to, if on any members here, and please take heed about accusing anybody outside. Thank you very much.
Okay, from an EFF member in Ekurhuleni.
I just think that you must take heed of what you're going to put out to the record today. I'll leave that up to you. It is a debate, but please just take
thank you,
heed.
Deputy Speaker. I will do that. Honourable members, one of the most devastating collapses of hope and opportunity is the collapse of rail, as we know. Last year, is there a point of order? No. Okay.
There is. Apologies. Deputy Chief Whip.
Deputy Speaker, when I read Rule 59, it speaks about reflections upon members of the House. When you read the wording of the rule, it speaks about the reflections upon one another member. So I do not hear the other members of the House raise a particular rule in this rules regarding why Minister Mackenzie may not say what he's saying in terms of the Ekurhuleni member. So I would like to understand what rule exactly that was raised on, because you cannot raise a point of order if it's not in the rules.
Thank you. So Rule 59 applies to us members, but I did ask in our previous speakers that when we mention, for example, a mayor and where the mayor, we have to be careful unless it's already in the public space that we cast aspersions out in the public to public reps. I've kept that consistent, and all I'm asking, it is the minister's prerogative to what he wants to say here, but of course, always it is on public record with his rights and privileges. Honourable Kama, do you also have a point of order?
No, Deputy Speaker, thank you very much. I really wanted you to frown at the Deputy Chief Whip, because she's the one who raised a point of order earlier when there was a councillor that Member Tagmo was talking about, and you made that ruling. And she knows that in terms of the very same rules, she can't contest a ruling that we have made. We have made a ruling on the matter, and she must not contest that ruling. She can do so on another platform.
Thank you, Honourable Kama. Can I ask, there is exactly 1 minute, 51 seconds for the Minister to complete his debate speech. If we can allow the Minister to proceed, we are quite close to lunch now. So thank you very much. You may proceed, Minister Mackenzie.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Honourable Deputy Speaker, in June last year, the Director General, the highest and the top official in the Department of Transport, promised on a public platform that the rail devolution would be gazetted by the end of the year. We're now almost at the end of February, and the rail is still busy collapsing in the whole country. We have seen nothing, whether there's a delay, another deadline get missed, further get pushed back, but our trains are not functioning. Our rail is collapsing because of the lack of urgency from national government. So honourable members in this House who claim to promote the best interests of the people of the Western Cape must put pressure on the national colleagues to deliver for rail devolution so that we can see rail back on track as soon as possible. Because as we are building in the Western Cape, they are breaking down. As we are building hope, they are breaking down state infrastructure. Honourable Deputy Speaker, when I reflect on this government over the last 5 years, I'm proud to say the Premier and our colleagues and every single member of the Western Cape Legislature of the DA have done best to honour the people. There has been fears, COVID-19s, taxi killings, and horrific car crashes. But every single day, this government makes choices for our people that serve them, that makes their lives better, and ultimately reflects the hope we all share for the Western Cape and South Africa. In conclusion, honourable members and fellow citizens, we must ask ourselves, what do we want for our province and our country? Do we want the stability that the Western Cape offers, the progress that the Western Cape offers, or the effective governance that the Western Cape offers? Or do we want instability, destruction, and mismanagement from the ANC under other provinces? I thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. Honourable members, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the debate on the Premier's State of the Province address. Business will now be suspended, but can I ask that members and guests are invited to please enjoy some refreshments in the area behind the hall. Our guests should please exit through the main entrance at the back of the hall and then turn left and walk down the side of the building, and ushers will show you exactly where to go. Our members, can I ask that you please exit through the door here to my right, where the ushers will direct you. The Premier's reply to the debate will commence sharply at 1400 hours, that is 2 p.m. The bells will be rung at 13:30 to indicate that members and guests should take up their seats. The bells will be rung again at 13:55 to indicate the resumption of business. Thank you very much. Please proceed to lunch. The House is suspended.